Good evening, Bermuda. Thank you once again for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening. That is a very popular song, of course, and it is about smiling. And it doesn't mean that when you smile, what happens is you're hiding what's real. What it means is that you're able to overcome and you'll be able to outshine and realize that whatever it is, the challenges that is not going to control you or overtake you for that matter. And of course, that's not to minimize any issues that may be going on, because when we have our own challenges, they are real. And there is no way that we can sugarcoat them or reduce them. But the idea of a smile means that, guess what? You know that there is hope. You know that there is a tomorrow. And the one reality for all of us is that having hope actually is a positive, which speaks to the fact that if you lose hope, then there is no positive, and you can feel as if there is no tomorrow, and then you become overcome by your circumstance. And so let us do our best to smile, not to cover up, but to recognize the fact that we are going to overcome whatever issues there are. For tonight, we are going to once again have a very interesting show, that's for sure. But before we start, I want to take time yet again to recognize the fact that Brother Glenn and Sister Gwen have done what we refer to as a yeoman service for the community of and the broader world, to be honest, because they have collectively decided that the inter-island communication of families will have this station will be the talk station for Bermuda. And if you listen to the station, as some do, by the way, they have this station turned on just permanent. It's on all day, every day, all week. And if you listen to it, you'll find that there is a talk show, I think almost every day. Actually, every day, yes, every day. If you include the weekday show, which will be mostly going to be Glenn Blake's show, and then you have the morning shows on the weekends. Even you have Shangri-La Durham, Dr. Shangri-La Durham on Saturdays, and me and others on Sundays. And so every day is covered. And I say that because it does provide a community outreach. It provides a community voice. And I was listening on Friday, and I do apologize, Brother Glenn, Sister Gwen, I was not able to be here physically, but I was listening to everybody in terms of how their shows started. And it is quite interesting to note that each of those shows, or almost every single show, started with an idea that was ultimately presented to, in mostly case, presented to Brother Glenn, but definitely supported by his wife, Sister Gwen. And an idea that then blossomed into more than an idea, into an execution, and then each of them took on. And I obviously have to add my comments to that, and my thanks again to each of them and to the entire family, by the way, because each of us do support each other, and there's tremendous work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that things take place. But for me, it was actually I think it was on a Sunday evening, actually. My mother stays in Somerset, and I had dropped her off, and I was driving home, and I just thought, you know what? This is what we need. We need to have some additional commentary around the financial reality of Bermuda. And then I thought about it a little bit more. The next day, which would have been a Monday, I contacted by WhatsApp, Brother Glenn, and said, this is my idea. What do you think? And his comment was, well, you can do it on a Sunday. And I'm thinking, what, a Sunday? Who listens to a show on a Sunday night? But, Brother Glenn, knowing all that he did, called me and said, let's talk about it. And he convinced me that Sunday was the time to do it, because there was nothing on that. Well, remember, at one time was Bermuda Speaks with Colonel Burt, and that had stopped based upon his ministerial rules. And so there was nothing on a Sunday evening, and he convinced me that, yes, Anthony, it does make sense. And today is testament, like more than 4 years later, we've been on almost every Sunday evening. There are obviously some times when I'm not able to be here, but we've been on, and the reception has been wonderful. I walk through the community, people say, Anthony, I want to hear this. I'm listening to it. Someone just actually, I would say this, I was in a bar, believe it or not, and someone said, hey, come here. I listen to you every Sunday. You got to do this, and this. And so I take those things on board, and I smile, because it means that people are paying attention, people are listening, people are asking questions, and thankfully, hopefully, people are being informed. And so we can't say it enough, collectively, individually, and otherwise, to Brother Glenn and Sister Gwen. Obviously, there are others behind the scenes that do many, many things, but certainly the face of these stations, certainly now, is Brother Glenn. And those of us that come into the office, we know for sure Sister Gwen is right beside him, before him, around him, and supporting the rock, the true rock that he needs to keep on going. And so we do thank them both. We know that, obviously, every day is not the best day, but again, as I said earlier, it is a smile, more than a smile. And what's also interesting, by the way, is many persons that don't work here necessarily, or don't present on this station, they may present on other stations or do other things. They had their beginning here. And so, again, to Brother Glenn and Sister Gwen, we want to thank you for your leadership. We want to thank you for your candor. We want to thank you for your responsiveness. And thank you for being open. What people don't realize also is that it's not as if we say, I want to do X, Y, Z, and we have to pass it by Brother Glenn. We do what we do. And he said many, many times, listen, it's your show. Obviously, give some broad guidelines, but basically get on with it. And what's interesting is he does expect the shows to be on every week. And if there's not, you have to give me enough notice to allow him to make some adjustments. And so all those things are being said to just say to the fact once again, thank you, and thank you again. We want to be mindful also to those that have lost loved ones. It's hard, and certainly for me and others, as we get older, there are more and more people that are passing on that we know. And for us, those of us that attended War Academy, there have been like a successive number of persons that have died recently. And, obviously we're all getting older, but we don't think of it as being at our age, no matter what age you are, that people are dying at your age. And so I do want to send our condolences to the entire community, especially though to those of us that attended War Academy altogether, because we've had some recent losses that seem to have multiplied. And as I said, they do touch us quite closely. I did forget to say that our guest tonight is Charles Richardson. He did tell me once I asked him, though, that he could not come here until about 8:30. And so once he calls me, tells me he's here, I'll pause for a minute. I'll go let him in and he'll come on. And then we're going to talk about what we posted already on social media about visionary leadership. And that's going to be a unique discussion because clearly Bermuda is in a state of turmoil, I would say. And some might say that word is too strong. But the reality is, from a political point of view, it is very, very unsettling to understand and know what has taken place of recent. I will give some other comments. I've been criticized myself for some comments that I've made with respect to the current leadership contest. But again, I will say this in my own defense, that I'll put on my big boy pants. I'll take those comments, but still, I will assert my thoughts around that. Some of those things that we'll wait until Charles Richardson is here, because he has a unique perspective on all things, to be honest, as we know. I've characterized him as a thought leader. And what I mean by that is that if you just have an inkling of his Facebook page, for example, no matter what he posts, there's always going to be an insightful comment. Sorry, the post itself is going to be very, very insightful, and not insightful as in I-N-C-I-T, but I-N-S-I-G-H-T, which means having great insight. And then you can see all the comments that follow from that. So looking forward to having him come on air. And as everybody knows, my show is never prescriptive. It's not as if Charles and I sat down and said, Anthony, we're going to talk about this and da-da-da-da. No. And you'll see once he gets here, because I want to have him speak from a certain perspective. And I'll ask him on air. I'll explain what the perspective is, and you'll see how articulate he is, how thoughtful he is, and how thought-provoking he can be when he chooses to do so. And so we'll see how that goes tonight. And the other thing I want to talk about real quick before he does come on air is that I had a show a few weeks ago with Troy Simons, was on board from LiveNet, and he talked about the scams and the internet things that can take place. And so this week, there is a new reality. And I will say this, that I was actually the subject of one of those scams. And I didn't listen to the advice that was given previously. And that is that whenever there is a comment, a call, or otherwise, no matter what you're doing, if you're going to deal with it, press pause, slow down, and think about what is taking place, as opposed to you're in a hurry, you're racing around, and you carry on and do certain things. And so as a result of that, I'll tell you what happened, actually. I was at work, and I have, in my professional capacity, I am a signatory on, I guess, a lot of different accounts. And one of those businesses had called me to say that their business account had been compromised, and that someone had actually removed some funds from the account, and that the bank was on the line to try to rectify that. And I was busy doing what I was doing. And I said, okay, I understand. Let me hear the person. And the person was on the other line. And they said, well, the account has been compromised and they want to talk more directly about the account to make sure that they can stop whatever was taking place. So I said, okay. And then they hung up with the first person and called me directly and started asking me lots of questions in terms of the banking information for the business. And on the basis that I understood that the account had been compromised, I was, first of all, of the mindset that, yes, it had been compromised, and therefore this was an appropriate comment from this person. They were then able to go on and talk about, ask some questions, but more so tell me what the account information was. And because I was told that the account was compromised, I carried on the conversation because it wasn't dealing with me directly. Toward the end of it, though, the other person, who is a signatory also on the account, said to me that, Anthony, yes, some funds have been removed from the account. And I said, okay, that's crazy. But yes, that's what took place. So then the caller called me back to say, because the business account had been compromised, there is a very real possibility that my personal accounts have been compromised. And so my first comment was, well, that doesn't make any sense. And how do I know that you yourself are not a fraudster? And then they went on to say, well, I'm not a fraudster. And basically, I'll prove it to you by telling you what your bank information was. And again, this is all real stuff, by the way. And so at one of the banks, which is Bank of Bermuda, HSBC, I have, I don't know, like say 5 accounts for a variety of reasons. And in my commentary, it was, well, how do I know that you are not a fraudster? And then they went on to say, well, what we can do is demonstrate that we are genuinely calling from HSBC by telling me what the accounts were. And literally, they were able to say, Anthony, you have this account with this much money in it, this one, credit card, this, and they listed exactly what was in what I have at the bank, right? Account by account. And so as a consequence, of course, I'm thinking, okay, this is the bank because there's no other way that they would have all that information. And then I was busy, and I did say, well, you know what you need to do is call me back in like an hour or something, because I had some other stuff to do. And so they did that, and they did actually call me back, which was completely crazy. And then we carried on. They went on to explain to me, well, these are your account balances. This is what's gone wrong. They then went on to say that somebody had contacted the bank to take out a home equity loan in my name based upon one of my accounts. And my response was, of course, that doesn't make any sense because there is no way that the bank should process any loans or what have you without me at some point being in direct contact, like, face to face or in person, as opposed to it all being corresponded. Their response was, well, this is how it takes place. It's a very old scam because sometimes lawyers get involved, and then they showed me a screen with a local law firm and a person's name, so it's all tied together, to say that, Anthony, this is the person that actually made the application, and you would never have known because it's going through the lawyer, and you would not know because there is no reason for there to be any communication. And by the way, has the bank sent any information to you? I said, no, of course not. And based upon my background, if people ask me any questions about a home equity loan or anything like that, I'm going to immediately say that makes no sense because, I have not made any such application. And so anyway, they went on and they were again able to explain to me all different things about my interaction with the bank, knew some of the information and what have you. And they then said, well, in order to correct the challenge or the potential compromise, to go to a website rather, which was HSB, I forget the rest of the name, but HSB something, and then that's when a code came up and I told them the code. And so I still don't know how it took place, but somehow when they first called me, they had to tell me all my detailed information. And then ultimately I still don't know exactly how or when it took place. Ultimately, I'll say this publicly, that they did take some funds out of my account, which is horrendous, to be honest. But even with that, when it first took place, I was not aware of it, of course. And so, I was just carrying on my day. At a point in time, though, I said, oh my goodness, just in case, let me go back and check my own accounts to see if any money had been taken out. And guess what? Yes, they were able to take money out of my account. And of course, that was quite alarming. But I will say this, just so everybody knows, that thankfully, the funds I have were not, the funds I do have were not in that account, in those accounts. I mean, there were some, so they did take some money. And I can only thank, I really, in my own mind, was like, thank God I did not have all the funds I have in those accounts, or even at that bank for that matter, because if I had, this would have been a complete disaster. What surprised me, though, for myself, was that after it took place, I called the police, actually. I called the police to report it to their fraud department. And this is no criticism. This is not at all. I'm just going to say what happened, though. I called. The person that answered the phone and put me through to the fraud department. And guess what? The phone rang to the point that irritated me, so I hung up the phone. Then I called back HSBC, and ultimately they went through the process of trying to understand, asked me a million questions again, trying to understand what took place. And my real point with them, though, was, notwithstanding what took place, are they responsible for reimbursing me for the money that was taken? And as you may know, the answer was no. Hold on 1 second. The answer was no, which is most unfortunate, to be honest. Hold on a second.
You've been listening to Insight. Please join Anthony again next Sunday for Insight here on Magic 102.7 FM.
Sorry, the show is not ended. That's for sure. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. The show is not ended, that's for sure. I'm still here. I'm going to pause for just a short while. I'm going to go and let Charles in, and then I'll come back. And I'll be right back.
You've been listening to Insight. Please join Anthony again next Sunday for Insight here.
Some dead air just for a few seconds while I go. But to finish up what I was saying, so I ultimately contacted the bank to get them to understand that something had gone wrong, and now it's being investigated. And one thing that surprised me, to be honest, was my emotional reaction to it was like I was irritated, I was embarrassed about the fact that here I am, you know, an accountant, business person, whole 9 yards, understood all these things, and guess what? I was actually scammed. And then after a while, what I decided to do is to use today and probably some other days now to make sure that I join the clarion call to everybody to be very, very careful when it comes to commentary from a person that called you up about so-called banking scams. And the best advice I can give at this stage is if somebody calls you from the bank to say your account's been scammed or whatever, hang up immediately and call the bank. That way you'll be sure that you are making the connection as opposed to someone calling you. That's the first thing to do. And then what the bank actually told me is that the second thing to do is after you talk to somebody is to change your password to make sure that no one else has access. And then Anthony, the business person says, you know what? In order to protect yourself, make sure that your funds are not all in one account. And then from that, for older persons and for young people who have older people in their life, and for older people themselves, make sure that there's somebody that you can trust that can assist you in these circumstances. Because, again, in my case, I'm very, 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 very thankful that the funds that I do have were not all in one account or at one location, because literally, people, somebody could have removed all the funds from the account. The only holdback would have been that if the amount is too big, of course, the bank would hold it just to go and check those things. But the challenge in my mind was that for each of us, all of our money is important. So whether it's $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, whatever the case may be, it's a lot. And just imagine, right? Anybody right now, you have money in your account, and tomorrow you plan to go spend it and do whatever you're going to do. If you go to do it and the money is gone because of a scam, just imagine how disastrous that could be. And so I'm going to have some more commentary about that as I go forward and try to, because the other thing, by the way, when the bank did call me was to try to remember exactly what happened in sequence, and I couldn't remember in sequence, right? And so, again, it is very, very important. The message from me, Anthony, and me inside tonight is please, 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 please listen to the messages from the banks and others in terms of they'll never, for example, call you about different things. Be patient, relax, hang up, all those things, because they're all very, very important in order to ensure that you are not compromised. And then after all of this, my mind went to the fact that, guess what? This was just me. I have no idea how many other people have had similar experiences. And what made matters worse, like horrible worse, well, not horrible worse, but what was a surprise was that these same people called me back the next day to say that, Anthony, now your Bank of Butterfield stuff is compromised. Thankfully, though, at that point in time, I was in a more relaxed mode and I was thinking better. And I kept them on the line to get information in terms of what phone number it was and making notes as they were talking. So I was better able to then call the Bank of Butterfield and say, listen, somebody's trying to access my accounts. This is some of the information. And what I did publicly is, this was on Friday. Yeah, it was on Friday. And so what I told the bank to do, please, was to suspend all of my banking privileges while they checked it out, just to make sure that nothing else went awry. And so that means that for this weekend, I'm a bit compromised, I'm a bit challenged in having access to my funds. But I don't mind that, because at least I was able to put in place something whereby I have peace of mind, where I'm not going to wake up yesterday, today, or tomorrow and guess what, my money's going. And so there's a lot more to say, but I'll stop there and just reaffirm the fact that what I'm telling you right now is not a story, it's not whatever, it's not second-hand or third-hand. This is first-hand information, because it happened to me, and I was very surprised, disappointed, and emotionally, I was like, this is crazy, Anthony. How could you allow this to take place? But then again, upon reflection, there are reasons why, and when I thought about it some more, we have to understand that these people that do this, they are very, 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 very good at what they do. I have no idea how someone would be able to tell me what all my accounts were at the bank, and therefore create a sense of validity in my mind that what they were saying was true. And so, having said all that, now, Mr. Charles. Charles is in the house.
How you doing? I don't know if this...
Is the one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, obviously Charles doesn't know this, that Charles is actually one of the guys I want to say that I wanted to have you on the show such a long time ago. I've actually once or twice, and it did not work out for whatever reason, but tonight it has worked out. And the reason is because he, Charles Richardson, the lawyer, is one of the unique personalities in Bermuda that is able to harness the thoughts of many. And in doing so, then he speaks to what the core issues are. He is fearless, as we all know. He's brilliant, as we know, in terms of his successes as a lawyer and even as a person. And so that's why I wanted to have him on. And so tonight, this is the perspective, and I said it before you came, of course, right? In that right now, Bermuda is clearly going through, actually got to come across, please, that chair. Bermuda is going through some challenges in terms of leadership. What I will say is that Sir John Swan, of course, died and was revered almost as a consummate leader. He was around for a long period of time. Bermuda's longest-serving premier, all those kind of things. And now, and not tied to it, but now politically, we're at a stage whereby there's a leadership contest, and the leadership contest is for the Progressive Labour Party, but based upon our political structure, that person that wins the leadership is more than likely going to become the premier based upon how things work, because it's going to be very strange if the leader does not then command the majority of the House of Assembly to then be appointed by as premier by the governor. There are some little trucks whereby it may not work, but that is the convention. And so it is real that this current leadership context is more than the leader of the PLP, but the leader of the country, i.e. becoming the premier. And so we're going to have a conversation about that. And then, of course, on Friday, with all the changes, it's like, this is going kind of crazy. I will say right now that some of my language may be loose in terms of, the words I use, but it is obviously what I mean to say. And I'll say this also, final comment to Charles, is that I've asked many people to come on and talk about leadership. And I can assure you, many prominent people, they're afraid to do so.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because we need to have a broad thought process. And even now, when it comes to the two that's put their names forward, I've asked at least one person, but they have not, to my knowledge, demonstrated or determined what they have as a vision for Bermuda. Like, what is their vision for Bermuda? And then, okay, my vision is X, and this is what I'm proposing to get there, so that the country has something to go behind, as opposed to, I like one because of this and one because of the other. So that's my whole spiel. But tonight, Mr. Charles, you have just become the premier. You have just become the premier. And I want to talk to you from that perspective in terms of visionary leadership. Before we all start, I always do this, right? Which is introduce yourself to the public. We all think we know you from different perspectives, whatever, and none of us really do. So how does Charles Richardson introduce himself to the public? Who is Charles Richardson? And then we'll talk about visionary leadership and even some more particular things in terms of what's happened recently and your comments around that. Go for it.
First of all, evening to everybody.
Down there.
Evening to everybody. Glad to have been able to make it. You have asked me to come on for more than one occasion, and for many various reasons, I just really wasn't speaking much in public at all, because I was observing. Who am I? Most people know me as a criminal defense lawyer. Otherwise, no, I'm a pretty average, normal Bermudian guy. No frills. Since most of my life really is in the public domain, there really isn't a whole lot to say. Everybody knows me. Now, your opening perspective is interesting. And you're saying, what would I do? I've just become premier, what would I do? I can't tell you. And that's probably the first thing we all have to understand when you start to talk about leadership, There's a saying that heavy is the head that wears the crown. Being in charge of everything and everybody looking to you for answers to every question that they hear, that is not a very easy job. And everybody could sit here and say they know what they would do if they were the premier tomorrow. But most of us, when we find ourselves actually sitting in the seat, wouldn't have a clue. And what you might find is that if you have these grand ideas, which on the base level sound very eloquent, the actual mechanisms of government are not that easy. You can't just take an idea and transform it into policy like that. There are steps. There's know-how. Mm-hmm. So what would I do if I was appointed premier tomorrow? Well, since I don't think I have the credentials to lead or to fill those shoes, I'd probably resign.
You would, but okay. So that's again. I smile because.
Well, that's me throwing the ball back in your.
Yeah, no. I got you.
Nice try. You're not gonna get me to field that one. What would I do if I was premier?
No worries.
I don't know what I would do.
Okay, so you couldn't resign because you would have gone through a process to get there, and you can't say I want to do it. But that's fine.
Resign whenever he wants.
Got you. But I mean, anyway. So we won't go that route then. So let's then talk about if you had to give advice. How about that?
It depends on what the advice would be about.
About visionary leadership.
What I don't think we could do here, mm-hmm. and taking on this topic, you can't generalize.
Okay. So
Every question you ask has to have a context. If not, you're just speaking platitudes. That's not helpful to anybody.
okay, and so the context is right now. What does Bermuda need? That's the real context, because we are going around. Okay, at this point in time, right? There is what I have determined to be an unfair commentary around the integrity of the government,
Okay.
which speaks to leadership, right? And I have a sense as to why that comes up, but I don't think it's appropriate to have a broad brush to say that the government doesn't have integrity, right? So that's the real impetus really for the show.
Well, let's pause there for a moment.
Sure.
Where do you think that commentaries come from? Because I myself have had some of the same searching questions, and I mean I hear broad declarations being made about the integrity of certain government officials, and, the apparatus as a whole. I'm yet to actually be persuaded that I've been shown anything that qualifies as, I don't know, incompetency, differences of opinion, many of those to go around.
Yes.
Policies I think may have been implemented better or differently, sure. But I don't know if that equates to justifying the criticism that I'm hearing either. So
Yes. So in that case, we're just one quick time to take a call just in case something's wrong. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
I may have missed the announcement. Are you guys having a show?
Yes, the show is on now. You're on. We're on. So turn on the radio. We're on. Yes. All right.
Hey, I'm on the radio. I'm listening to music. That's what's going across the air right now.
It shouldn't be. On Magic 102.7?
102.7. I've been listening to music for the last 10 minutes.
let's see.
Okay, I don't know what's
I'll let you know.
You're listening online or on the radio?
I'm listening on the radio.
Okay, I'm not sure. Brother Glenn, if you're listening, please call back and figure out what that's about. I don't know how that's working, to be honest.
All right, cool.
Did
Just thought I'd let you know.
Thank you.
If anyone else is called in.
you cut to a commercial before you came up in the door?
No, it's that's paused. So that's not happening. Yeah, no.
I hear music in the
Right.
background.
So now you do. I turn it on.
102.7.
So you shouldn't hear it now.
All right, so I'm going to go back on the air and see what happens.
Okay, no worries. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Hey, Richardson, I'll come back later, but your show's been on all this time. The only kerfuffle was when you were going to the door to get Charles.
Right.
But you've been on live since you got back from the door.
Okay, good. Okay,
So
good.
I don't know what that's...
No worries. That's fine. That's fine. Thanks.
All right.
No worries. Can you just do one more? Okay, cool. So we all good.
Okay, cool.
Just one more. Just check. So, good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to back the same thing.
You can't hear the show?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
Try to let you know you're good.
All right, thanks.
All right.
No problem. All right, good.
That's your sound check.
Yes, a live sound check.
Yeah, for real.
So let's go back to that comment there in terms of the integrity piece, because, as you know, a lot of people are saying, not a lot of people are saying, but that's the comment, and it's almost like a dog whistle, I suppose, because if you say it, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, right? And my comment has been that I think it's unfair to run that line in terms of what happens is the general. So you say somebody says that the government needs integrity, right? I don't know what it is, but then I repeat, and it impacts what I call the national psyche, because then everybody thinks, okay, government lacks integrity, government can't be trusted, then therefore I can do stuff that I don't have to be trusted, and then the whole thing falls apart. And so that's been my challenge in terms of what's this whole integrity thing.
Well, what you also have to understand is that each of the people that speak that as their truth have had their own personal relationships and or issues with either government personalities or government departments, and they may have walked away with that impression. You can't monitor that.
Right.
There's no statistics to follow that.
Gotcha.
So that may also be part of the explanation as to why you have this ethos. It may not be a general collective dissatisfaction with the entirety of government. It may be, in fact, a small pocket of collections of people who are dissatisfied with the interactions that they've had. And that's the voice you're hearing now. I don't know. I myself have had reasons, as with any Bermudian that lives here, to be dissatisfied with the way some government services are delivered, the way some policies are implemented, but that's a fact of life in a democratic society. Not everything you're going to agree with. Outside of that, I haven't yet been persuaded that anything egregious or unethical has taken place. But, I mean, I'm a lawyer. I'm always open to be persuaded.
And that was my next question in terms of, is it because you, Charles, have the legal background and there's a different standard of quote-unquote evidence for this integrity? Or is that something that can be applied to...
Well, because I appreciate how easy it is to say somebody is unethical or an apparatus being labeled as unethical without there being any solid evidence that actually, makes that case. It happens all the time. And in fact, in political discourse, it's pretty much, par for the course to label a thing or an apparatus as unethical, inefficient, incompetent, inappropriate, et cetera, simply depending on perspective. So you just have to be really careful with that part of the discourse. I don't necessarily buy into the fact that there is anything unethical about what government has done as a whole. But I do accept that there are people who have had personal experiences which probably have left them with that flavor.
And so on the basis that it is certainly it's a regular commentary about integrity and that kind of thing, right? What advice do you give for us, like general public or Bermudians, really, in terms of this? Because again, for me, and I know talking to young people especially, it's almost as if they have less of a care of doing right because of this narrative around I can't trust government, or government's untrustworthy, or government lies, or because therefore they have a whole different perspective on what they should be doing.
Yeah, there's a lot wrapped up in what you just said. First of all, that general perception that government lies. Let's unpack that for a minute. Why do you think people say that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to not personal experiences, but repeating what other people have said without any evidence. And so not you, but somebody else may have an experience whereby, I don't want to say government lie, because that doesn't make any sense. Something did not go quite right.
Right.
And they then form an opinion. And then if it's me, even tonight, for example, right? There is a responsibility in what I say, because people would say, if I say something's not true or whatever.
Yeah, I got to ask you something.
Right, they'll then say, because Anthony said it, it's not true. They're not going to keep on saying, Anthony said it's not true, therefore it's not true. They'll just stop and say themselves, it's untrue, and therefore you have that thing. And so in many cases, I believe it's a question of not personal experiences, but an individual's conveyed experience, which is then repeated to the point whereby everybody starts to believe it.
All right, this gets kind of deep, and I don't want to sound...
No, you are Charles. That's why you're here.
Or nerdy, but the relationship we have with our government is based on what is loosely known as a social contract. It's an agreement between you and those who govern, that you'll discharge certain obligations and you'll uphold certain standards, and in return, they'll provide you with the resources and the actual social environment within which to flourish, as best as you can, according to your means. The usual medium by which those terms are conveyed is an election platform.
Yes.
And the usual mechanism by which people sign off on that contract is the result of the election. But when you have, and again, this is how many people perceive it, when you have a government or any group, and it's happened with successive governments, this government is the only government that has had to deal with it, when you make a set of promises and people don't feel like those promises have been delivered, the automatic response is you lied to me. You said you were going to do this. I haven't seen that. You lied to me.
Wow.
You said you were going to do that. I haven't seen that happen. Ergo, you lied to me. It's a very simplistic way of expressing on their behalf that, listen, the platform promises that were made, I don't feel them in my household. Therefore, I feel, you told me something that you didn't do, and you lied to me. So I'm not sure if they're actually saying they've been deceived. Some people do feel they've been actually deceived. But what they may be feeling is, or what they may be expressing, is a lack of any tangible manifestation of those promises showing up in their kitchen and in their living room.
That's interesting. As you know, I'm a former politician myself, right? It's part of the PLP. And everybody criticizes the Premier. And by the way, everybody understands I'm not here to defend the Premier, whatever. Trust me, that's not at all any stretch of the imagination. I've not talked to him, I haven't spoken to him, I haven't seen him for quite a while, to be honest. But to his credit, right, that's what he does believe in, and he's very adamant about that this the platform, this the promises, this the throne of speech, and you must fulfill those things. But notwithstanding that, obviously he's the leader now, and people would attribute him as being, or attribute the lack of trust of government to being to him.
Therein lies the double-edged sword. That if you make those promises to people who desperately need them to be true, and they don't come true, they will have an opinion. You just can't avoid that.
Gotcha.
And even if the government, and again, I'm not here to engage in apologetics or defend anybody. I'm neutral.
Yes.
No, I'm not completely neutral. I'm a lifelong carrying member of the PLP. I always will be. However, in matters like this, when we speak about what's best for our country, I try to keep it as neutral as possible. And listen, the bottom line is that even if they did everything possible to try and bring certain policies into fruition and met this roadblock and that roadblock and that structural impediment and that resource wasn't available, and that sometimes happens.
Yes.
Policies fail to come to fruition, not for want of trying. For example, gaming. I think they gave that a good go.
Oh, yeah.
But so many different legal impediments and other impediments threw themselves up that seems to have stalled. The cannabis reform, again, based on a good idea, it was being implemented for a good purpose. We need additional streams of revenue. That's hit so many different roads, not for want of trying. Those are just two examples of things that people expected to happen, but they didn't happen, but they're not for want of trying. So I'm very careful to say that you've been lied to. Again, some of that may be based on personal experience. Some of it may be based on just like a herd mentality, because the media has a lot to do with that.
Well, yes, clearly, and that's something I think you have to understand too, the general public, that there are the media itself has a bias, no question, and there are others who actually are, which I was surprised about, but I learned this, I don't know, a couple of years ago now. There are those that are actually paid to intentionally mislead the American public through the media.
Yeah.
So every day they'll write letters and they'll do some things, and they're doing it with an intention, and obviously it's working. So with all
And
that,
they're active online every day.
that's right.
They're active online right now while you and I are speaking.
Yes.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that too. But I gotta come back to the same question then in terms of, and I know you're a lawyer, so it's different, but anyway, let's accept the premise, right, if you will, that there is a narrative that the government lacks integrity. That's accept. Not that it's true, but a lot of people say that. And so if I write an article tomorrow that says that the government lacks integrity, everyone's going to say, yes, Anthony, you're wonderful for a few minutes, right? But what do we do, though, to try to dampen, if not reverse that, or at least neutralize that, knowing that, from your perspective, it's not been proven?
How many of those claims have actually been the subject of intense scrutiny? How many people have actually been questioned? Have been asked to play an end game theory type exercise out with why they say that?
I would say very few.
Right. Some might hold substance, but I would suggest that many of those claims might not hold up to scrutiny.
And like recently, I went to one of these things, and I made this comment, right? And people who are, the professional, whatever the word is, right? They have challenged me, and I said the same thing. Listen, you tell me a situation that you're aware of, bring some facts, right? And nothing. But that doesn't stop them from having this firm opinion that no matter what, it's still true. And then they come up to this thing about, okay, you know what? Well, I knew other things. I can't tell you whatever. And in my mind, I dismiss that because you cannot say these things so adamantly without some modicum of proof. But I'm still coming back to you now in terms of right now, I believe that we are at a dangerous stage because
That is a popular belief.
it's doing wrong, right?
I'll say that without, and I can use that term safely without branding it as truth. That is a popular belief right now. Whether that popular belief stands up to scrutiny in all sectors remains to be seen, and a lot of it is purely subjective. You're not going to do much to sway that.
So what do you recommend in terms of, it's a dangerous thing right now in
It
terms
is a dangerous thing, and that's
where we
why
at,
the topic you've proposed is pretty appropriate. Visionary leadership. That's what you need right now.
And you said that if you were the premier, you'd resign because you wouldn't know what to say, I suppose. But
And that's the first thing, yes. And the reason I do, that's the first thing that anybody who says they want to lead has to understand. Sometimes the best decision you can make if somebody puts you in the leadership saddle and that horse is a bit too unready for you to ride is to admit it,
Yes.
You don't do us any good by sitting up there trying to steer the ship, and you don't have a firm grasp of road and navigational hazards are, and then you try to pretend that you do. Leadership is not an easy role. I've seen people do it. I've led a government department myself for about 2 years, and just that little taste, it is not easy being the person everybody's coming to.
Right.
So the first thing about leadership is that you have to be honest about whether or not you're really equipped to do it and to do it properly.
And obviously you're not going to comment on this, but so there are two candidates right now for leadership. I guess actually, question you may just not answer, I guess. But so, do you think there should be more contenders?
Do I think there should be more contenders? Yeah. That really isn't a decision for me to make. Do I wish? Does everybody wish there were more choices? Probably. But the reality of it is that within the present structure of the party, there aren't that many obvious choices.
And that goes, of course, I'm ill-equipped to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, which is that what do you see as maybe some elements, like, forget the two individuals, right? Different question I got now. What do you see as the elements of leadership that we should look into? Forget the two individuals right now, in terms of, like, what are the elements?
Now you're getting into a conversation that I don't know if many people have thought about it the way I've thought about it, and could get very, very sticky. And it's a topic that we don't really have a lot of information on.
Okay.
And we can guess on. But let's ask ourselves what's at stake right now. Is this merely a internal party election for the leader, or is the decision that's going to be made at Alaska Hall in October actually going to reverberate right into Bermuda's macroeconomics? Think about it. You do know that it has been forecast that the newly instituted corporate income tax is going to actually hit its peak probably this fiscal year, which means for the first time in Bermuda's history, it will have revenue in excess of $2 billion.
Yes.
So whoever is going to be in charge of the government is going to be in charge of the largest influx of revenue we've ever had. Just let that sink in for a minute.
Well, to be honest, I mean, for me,
that person has to, or that body has to make decisions about what's going to happen with the largest amount of money that government's ever had in its coffers. Pause and just let that sink in for a minute. Right now, that's the Progressive Labour Party. They have the majority.
Who, and you're right.
And when's the next election? Remind me.
It's got to be by 2029.
Right, okay.
Or give or take.
We still have some years to go.
Yes.
And that corporate income tax is going to be levied every year.
It's a huge amount of money.
It's a huge amount of money with which a huge amount of good things or bad things could be done. And whoever leads the government and who leads the country is essentially going to be forming policy and shaping policy on what happens with that. That's just one aspect of what this leadership race means. Now, let's look at the two candidates. On the one side, you've got Mr. Dickinson, whom for most people, his background as an international banker brings confidence to most people in the fiscal arena.
Yes.
And on the other side, you've got Jason Hayward, who has a really solid record at defending, social programs and trying to, protect working class rights. I think that there is a belief amongst people that, and this is without casting any judgment one way or the other,
Sure.
that Mr. Dickinson is automatically going to be better equipped to make decisions fiscally for Bermuda than Mr. Hayward will be. And I'm not sure I totally agree with that.
Right. And the risk today, people, like I said, people can listen to what we're saying, right? And they're going to say whatever. But the reality is that there is so for politics, people don't get this right. The best business person is not necessarily the best politician.
Correct.
And vice versa. And I say that, and not with any of these guys, it's because in pure business, I'm the leader, I tell you what to do. It's your job. You do it. You don't do it, you get fired because you whatever. And so there's a financial interest in doing it. In politics, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to have the strength to convince me with no direct responsibility that what you're doing is the right thing to do, and I'll do it because I believe in it.
Right.
It's a whole different perspective. And so the ultimate politician is one who is able to convince people. The ultimate business person is the person that's able to, what I call, direct you, just tell you what to do. Like, have a good idea, have the right decision, I suppose, but then you can direct, and you cannot direct in the same way politically.
Yeah, but see, those two things that you just spoke of independently, political influence and vision, but the two have to come together.
Correct.
That's what essentially creates visionary leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You can foresee a problem. You can come up with a plan, either by yourself or collectively with others to tackle it.
Yes.
And then the key bridge is that you're able to persuade those that you lead to buy into the plan and to support it. And then the final step is that you're able to persuade them to assist you in executing it. And that sometimes may involve asking them to make sacrifices in order to achieve a long-term goal. But that's the type of leadership that's needed right now. We can't keep throwing conventional solutions at the problems that we have. They're not working.
Okay.
Piecemeal little 1% breaks here and there. They're just not working. And what direction we're going to go in, let's be frank about it. Who's going to make a decision about which direction we're going in? It's going to be the next leader of the Progressive Labour Party. What counterbalance is there right now? And I don't want to be, but what political counterbalance is there right now? The OBA?
And again, that's not something I was going to talk about tonight, but it's zero.
Right.
Because
So as long as we accept that premise, I can move past it. There is no political counterbalance.
I got you. To be honest, I mean, again, with me being me, it was like there are some comments that have been made recently, right? Or some announcements been made recently. OBA has been silent. And so I'm not even talking about this most recent stuff like education. I think it's horrible, to be honest, that the OBA will come out and now try to get on the bandwagon with the education piece when they should be able to be much more forward-thinking and critical about all the things that take place. And so something as easy as the housing policy. I have not seen an appropriate critique of the housing policy in terms of what's intended, how it's going to be financed, all these kind of things. And for me, it is what it is tonight, is that's the role that the OBA should be playing, or you call it a counterbalance, and there is nobody right now playing that counterbalance role.
Right.
It's scary.
So if we accept that, we can move past. There really isn't a counterbalance. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that going forward for the immediate future, whoever leads the Progressive Labour Party and therefore commands a majority of confidence in the House of Parliament, provided that remains the status quo, is actually going to be your first among equals, as they say.
Yes.
Your premier, your policy leader. So the election that is taking place at Alaska Hall in October is very important for Bermuda. The only thing I think that many people, and this is no criticism of it, is a fact of the legalities of the system, of a Westminster system. It's not a democratic choice.
That's interesting. And why not?
Well, because the general electorate can't weigh in on who the leader of the PLP is going to be. The 160 delegates of the Progressive Labour Party decide that.
And you know what's interesting is, within reason, anybody can be a delegate. And so you, for example, if you choose, can be, there's a process by which, as you said, is not, it is what it is, right? Whereby you can be a delegate because the numbers are relatively small, you could say identify, for argument's sake, 20 people to register as PLP members in one constituency, and then get all those 20 people to come to whatever meetings can take place and say, I want Charles to be a delegate.
Right.
And unless there are many, many others, you become a delegate.
Yeah.
So anybody can participate in that sense.
Fair enough, but that being the case, those 160 delegates are not responsible to the electorate.
Granted, because, if I'm a delegate, for example, I can't, you didn't vote me in, you don't know who I am, sort of thing. And so,
you don't even know who have, and this is the criticism again of that system. It's just that that's the way it is right now. That's the way it is in the Westminster system.
Right. And it's been that way forever.
It's been that way forever. Right or wrong, that's a discussion for a different time. But the only way the actual, how can I put this? The only way the wants and mores of the average person on the street are actually going to make a difference in who becomes the next leader of the PLP is if some members of the, if the delegates, if some of them see themselves as some type of moral proxy to be a voice for the people at that delegates meeting. Some of them may actually feel that way.
Yes.
That they have a duty to purvey the sentiment of the community within which they live in the way that they vote. Some may not, and let's be real about it. Most, if not many, are going to vote along party lines, internal party allegiances, and loyalties.
And just a minute, and you know what?
Which the average Bermudian is totally uninterested in right now.
Correct.
The question the average Bermudian wants to, the conversation they want to have is not so much about who is going to be the next leader, but whoever it is. What you can do after that about the fact that I can just about afford to pay my rent.
Yes.
What are you going to do after that about the fact that keeping the lights on is like a monthly struggle for some people?
Yes.
What are you going to do about the fact that a visit to the doctor right now sometimes scares people from even seeking help because it's so expensive? What are you going to do about the fact that many people are very nervous about the state of the education system?
Yeah.
In the midst of a reform, all of a sudden we have all this changing of the guard. It's a lot that makes people nervous right now. So while the party is looking inwardly as to who's going to be the next leader, the conversation that's taking place outside of there is more so about how does this affect me, my house, my wallet, my future. So we're having two totally different conversations right now, and that can be dangerous.
And sorry, and as you know, as you speak, a lot of comments come out, right? So two things I want to just hit on is that the phone lines are lit up. I'm not going to answer just yet. Let's have a little more conversation before I do that. And that is, it's interesting in terms of the delegates technically should be voting based upon the constituents that they represent. So that, for example...
Well, has that ever really been a requirement or a rule? I don't think it has been.
No, but I'm going back to what you said.
I don't even think it should be a moral imperative, but I don't think it is.
It's not, but I know... Well, again, it depends upon the branch, right? So realistically, it should be a matter of the people in the community should be canvassed to say, in this case, who do you want to vote for, this person or that person? And then based upon what they say, that's where the delegates should reflect that, as you're saying. So when we go to vote for the leader, it shouldn't be what I think. It should be what those who are in my community think based upon my canvassing or my communication or whatever. They should come out and say, listen, you guys, let's vote for candidate A or B. But you're right. What doesn't happen all the time is that the delegates themselves don't always take into consideration the community and vote based upon their own opinion. And I will say this, my father-in-law, who's now deceased, he was, what's the word now, verbally very much animated around that, to the point whereby I don't care what you think, what do the people think, and then how can we trust you to convey the people's vote to the meeting? Because at the end of it, right, it's a confidential vote. You don't know who I write on my ticket.
Nope.
And so that's the challenge. And you talk about a moral imperative. It's, do we understand, do delegates understand that you are not voting for yourself, you're voting for those who are in the community? And that's a huge comment to me.
Well, I don't know what criteria the present delegates take into account, but I would, as an optimistic student of human nature, like to think that many of them are aware that they do have a tangential duty, an obligation, so a fiduciary duty, I call it, to at least consider what it is that their fellow countrymen seem to believe is the best choice. And I don't know that anybody's made a clear decision on it yet. But I think maybe we should really, just for information, talk about what the two people offer.
Yes.
So that people can have a better perspective. Because on the one hand, you've got Mr. Dickinson, whose platform seems to be that of the seasoned investment banker, former finance minister. He's used his recent fireside chats to to basically ask for what he calls principled integrity-based leadership in the face of adversity. And that's a strong talking point for him right now because it buys into it gains value from the narrative that does exist right now, the popular belief that this government lacks integrity. It's a strong talking point for him. And I'm not sure how much weight to give it in the absence of evidence that there actually is a lack of integrity to be corrected. Because I have to also remind myself that this gentleman was probably any other person in the room when he discussed with the Premier why he really stepped away. What was the real disagreement? And if there was some real issue of integrity, I haven't heard him say anything about it. He seems to be saying there was a disagreement in how to formulate a policy.
Right.
That, to me, doesn't translate into integrity. And if it was a matter of integrity, then I'd have to wonder about how he defines integrity if he has information like that and refuses to reveal it.
Right.
The fact that he hasn't actually made an allegation about an actual issue of it suggests to me that there may not have been one.
Gotcha.
And there simply was a disagreement in how that policy or this policy might translate down the line. Now, gentlemen are entitled to disagree on those points, and vehemently even. But that shouldn't translate into an issue of ethics.
And I'll say this to you, which you're not aware. So when I went to the meeting the other day, I said that, right? And the response was more along the lines of, I'm not saying that his response was that, he's not saying that the government lacks integrity.
Okay.
He's reflecting that people say they want a government of integrity.
Right.
And you know, whether be fair or unfair, my response though was that to repeat it, even if others are saying it, you're giving voice to what you know is going to happen. And so, terrible example, right?
Right.
Anthony, I am not fat.
No,
But people say they are. Let's say people say I am, right? If you go and start saying that people say that they don't want they want a skinny Anthony, for example, you're giving credence to the fact that you're giving credence to the unreal, what you know is not real, by saying it. And so my point has been, that's where everybody been wild, by the way, in terms of, I shouldn't say that, but my point was that by doing so, as a leadership contender, you're giving validity for something that's not necessarily proven to be around a certain integrity thing. So that's a huge conversation, by the way.
Well, I mean, it may simply be that he's correcting or wants to correct that perception that, listen, you know, if it's integrity you're looking for, I have it for you, without actually saying that someone else didn't have it.
Correct, but by saying so, obviously you're picking on it in terms of you are intentionally or unintentionally validating the commentary about integrity by doing it.
It's a bit unavoidable in this context.
The
other thing I would have probably, and I haven't been to any of his chats, wanted to ask Mr. Dickinson is, what if you take over and people still have the perception that government lacks integrity because you're unable to deliver the same promised results? What then?
Well, there's an option that you talked about earlier, but that's not going to take place. And so I don't want to go too far, but anyway, the other question is going to be, which I've explained to others, right, is that, as you know, you are running a campaign and there are people that support you. So by default, there's got to be by default, there's an expectation that if you win, I get something from that. Whether it be an appointment as a minister, whether I get, government board, whatever. There is, as you called it, I think earlier, the human reality that there's an expectation from me.
That is the unavoidable quid pro quo of politics.
as early as you can say. And so I'm smiling, right? Because many of us haven't been as attentive as we could have been to what has been said, like what's really been said recently, and when I say recently, the past couple of days. And I smiled because I had to go back and check myself that the Premier basically said that he made some changes. One change was the Minister of National Security because he wanted to, the general impetus has been there are things are not moving the way he wanted them to move, and therefore he made certain decisions. There was one question in terms of how did he justify or support his appointment to education, which was because former Minister Diallo had enough knowledge and able to carry it on quite easily. That doesn't compute with what happened with the Minister of National Security, because notwithstanding that Robinson Parent Chief has all these credentials. As you said earlier, the government's a whole different mechanism. I don't care what. And so that was a bit of a smile. And also...
So what do you think's really happening there? Because
I don't know...
What I heard you saying is that when the Premier says that this cabinet shuffle took place because it was necessary to ensure that certain goals were being met,
yes.
That you're not necessarily persuaded by that.
No.
Why not?
And thank you. You're the lawyer now. You got me on the stand, right? You asked me the question to get me there. Now I've got to go there.
It's a talking point. I do have a view, but why not?
Because it's not consistent. You know what I mean? And I tell you, you don't know this, but so way back when, right? When I was the accountant general, and I was relatively young at that time, right? Obviously, I applied for it, I worked for it, and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you, they told me, I think it was on a Thursday night that I was going to get the job, and on maybe Friday day, sorry. That Friday night, I sat at the desk in the new accountant general's office, right? And I said to myself, Anthony, what have you got yourself into? Because after all this time, you want it, now you're there. And so as of Monday, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
And as you said, you get to a point, right? It's different. There is no comparison because suddenly, it's no longer, for example, Ms. Heather Matthews was the accountant general before. It was okay. She took the hit. I was the secondary, right? But then at some point, guess what? She's no longer there. I'm the guy. And it's a whole different ballgame.
And you're expected to have
exactly
answers.
And to do things. And so for me, part of the real discussion is understanding the political mechanisms. Even you're a lawyer, lots of experience, all that kind of stuff, right? But you would recognize that if you're appointed as the Attorney General, it's a whole different mechanism.
Right. Well,
it's still legal.
Yeah, I get it.
You got to do something. So
let's get to the heart of it.
Sure.
What do you expect is going to happen in October when either Mr. Dickinson or Mr. Hayward become Premier? What do you think is going to happen at cabinet level?
Well, clearly what's going to happen is that if Mr. Dickinson wins, there'll be a change for sure.
And if Mr. Hayward wins, you think there won't?
There'll be changes, but not as wholesale. Because, well, what I don't know, right, and someone said to me today...
Granted, just for the sake of moving, both of those individuals, who, no matter who actually takes the position, is going to want to put in their own cabinet.
Yes.
So we're looking at, 3 months maybe, that these newly appointed ministers may actually have...
you mean the recent ones? Yeah. So
to occupy the position?
Yes.
And I'm just speaking. David knew that when he appointed him. So have they been appointed because there was a need to move things along and to implement certain policies? I'm not totally persuaded by that either, because you're aware in appointing them that they all might be gone in October. And unless they're completely oblivious and blind, they also have to understand that all three of them, they could be gone.
Yes.
In October when a new leader is installed. So somebody used the term placeholders. I don't want to say that, but it certainly could have that appearance. And when you think about it that way, the idea that they were implemented to make or somehow affect policy change in that short period of time does ring a bit hollow. What it does seem to suggest is that because of the impending leadership race, there has been rift and upheaval internally.
Yes.
And these new appointments were necessary. They were
understood
emergency requirements because the glue started to come undone. That's just one view that one could take of it.
Sure.
And in light of who has been chosen, without impeding anybody's ability, the young man, Mr. Parent Chief, comes with a good educational and political pedigree. But I just don't see these appointments as being appointments that were actually meant to affect policy. I think they were meant, I don't know if you've ever seen Ice Age.
No, but okay.
The movie with the squirrel at the beginning. The glacier begins to spring leaks and he sticks his toe in it. And then it springs a leak in another place and he puts his foot down there to stop that leak.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's a leak up top and he puts his hand, and before he ain't got nothing else to use.
Exactly.
He starts using his doodles to try to spring. It has that effect. Like, look, the ice started to break and prevent it from coming over. I had to. And it is what it is. And we've only got 3 months to wait to see what really happens.
Sure.
Who knows? One of these gentlemen may actually keep. some of these individuals in the positions that they're in to utilize their talents.
Okay. And so what's interesting is it goes back to, and from my own background now, there are rules of the game, right? And the rules of the game are: I'm the premier, and all these people serve at my privilege. Every minister,
That's the
every
theory.
senator.
That's the theory.
But that's reality in terms of he can decide what he wants to do. There is no reason for. He doesn't have to give a rationale or reason for why he does it. That's his prerogative.
Yeah, but a government that is ruled by a premier who dictates to his cabinet is a short-lived premiership indeed. You can't last long like that.
Granted, but I mean, and you know, in all fairness, has been there for the past, I guess, 9 years successfully. Whatever. So,
Which
you know,
seems to suggest that, you know, at least on a majority level, the people who are in cabinet, to some level, have been satisfied with the leadership.
yes.
Because if they weren't satisfied, there's a mechanism for them to deal with that.
And that's what I was saying. So I was saying earlier, it's interesting because a lot of us don't bother to read what application, right? But there was one piece of the Premier's statement, I have it, but anyway, is where he says that he has learned, not quite a quote, but anyway, he has learned based upon his experience in the role that when there are impending ministerial changes, there should be an opportunity for people to resign. And so for me, right?
You know, that is a nice way of saying.
Well, to be honest, I mean,
if I tell a government minister I'm not satisfied with, you know, how you're pursuing the objectives that I gave you, I'm letting you know I'm trying to see if I can get somebody else in there to do it. So you could resign or...
right. And so forgetting what happened, right? I think for the general public, it's to understand that I want to call it almost a nuance, right? Because, and I have no factual information about any of this stuff, except for the fact that there was a report that 2 ministers resigned. Then there was a correction, quote unquote, that no, one resigned and one was dismissed. And again, I have no idea what happened there, right? But it's interesting that in the Premier's statement, he did say that there is an option. And it'll be interesting to figure out, you know, I mean, like to just know, I suppose, did one person say, oh, well, let me do it quickly? Other person said, no, I'm going to force your hand.
Well, we
you
know
to
that
see.
one of them, it wasn't a parting that was without acrimony.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's in the public public arena. And so,
Which is unfortunate.
yes,
But
unfortunately, in many instances, in the terms of there is what I call a cabinet mentality, whereby it is what it is, collective responsibility.
yes.
And when you disagree, you disagree. You go.
Right.
You know, that is what it is. But you know, there are personalities involved in that, and they choose what they choose, no matter what we may think. But again, I think it's to understand, though, almost like those are the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Similarly, in terms of cabinet ministers, if you are not going to support the premier, then you should resign. In this case, it doesn't apply, by the way. Someone asked me a question because, remember, the premier himself is not being challenged. He has decided he's not going to stand for election again, so therefore, this is not about the premier. It's really about two new leaders. And so it's not as if you're going to have it whereby the premier says, I'm going to carry on and have my ministers challenge me. No, it's his stepping down. So it's almost like a clear playing field.
Well, there you go. And that's why you have to really assess the strengths that both candidates bring. I mean, Jason also brings a stellar set of qualities that serve the interests of a certain segment of the population. So he also has strong support. But one of the things that I think people do overlook, see, I don't know Mr. Dickinson very well. I must say, the impression I get is that he lives in a part of Bermuda that I don't. People, I'm a lawyer, they say, yeah, but I don't really get to go into those holes very often.
He would disagree though, by the way, in terms of he has a very
I'm sure he would disagree. I'm just saying
very
it hasn't been my
humble
experience.
situation. Yeah.
That's about been my experience, and I don't think there are some people who don't perceive him as being
Well, okay, he's not going to.
in the same playground.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yes.
They think he's a smart guy. They know he's, got integrity and all of those other things, but there's something to be said about that grassroots connection.
Yes.
And I think that Jason definitely has a stronger grassroots
Sure.
connection than Curtis does.
And that's interesting because I was going to ask this question, right, in terms of, as you said already, the leadership decision is internal to the PLP.
Yes.
It's the delegates. It's a closed meeting, basically. Well, definitely a closed meeting. This time it's going to be horrible, but anyway, closed. It's entirely internal, right? And again, I haven't spoken to any of the candidates, so it doesn't matter. But what I've been surprised at is how public this whole thing is. The leadership has been made, in my mind, very
what
public.
is at stake.
Granted, and so I was going back to what you said.
Because of the fact that we're at a crucial crossroads when it comes to serious, significant issues in Bermuda.
Right.
And we're about to be handed for the first time the public purse capabilities to actually fix some of that stuff.
In a big way.
In a big way.
And so financially, you're right, in terms of, I don't know if we appreciate where Bermuda's going to be standing financially in the next 12, 24 months. In terms of, so Joan Swan and Jack Talk and a few others were credited with Bermuda where we are now, based upon tax policy, based on all kinds of things, right? I don't know if we appreciate the fact that whether it be the Premier or the next Minister of Finance, they're going to have the chance to change Bermuda's trajectory for the next 50 years.
I think
based on what's been decided now.
I think they do appreciate it.
I'm talking about okay, maybe, I don't know. But
And I
I'm
think
talking
some
average
people in the general population appreciate it too, and that's why they feel many of them more confident that Curtis is the man.
Gotcha.
But you also have to balance that out. A total fiscal vision is not going to get us where we need to go. That has to be balanced with a pretty good social vision as well.
Yes. And to, that's unfortunately for me, I don't see that discussion taking place in terms of understanding that it's money and people in some respects as a crude way. I used to before describe the PLP as a people party and the OBA or UBP as a money party. And that's because if you had to make a decision, which one came first? For the PLP was people. For the OBA, whatever, it's always been money. And so that's just my crude way of defining the two. Yes, each of them will take the other piece, but on a minority basis. So let's say the PLP will be people maybe say 70% first and money 30%, and the OBA would have been 30% people and 70% money. That's in my mind.
Let me pose this question to you, a bit of a rhetorical question to try
Sure.
and get you to suss out the differences that may be important there. Do you believe that we can solve the issues that we have now by employing conventional conservative measures?
But that's
Or do you think that in order to get us from where we are to where we need to go, there's going to have to be some outside of the box, potentially radical thinking?
without question. I'm 100% believing that's going to be radical.
With that answer, who do you see being more likely to make outside the box, potentially radical, well-informed decisions, rather than to play it safe and be conservative?
It's going to be rhetorical, and I'm not going to answer that question, but not direct anyway.
But that's the way. That's the way a lot of people are thinking about this.
Yes.
Yes, they like that stability, but they also know that this is going to require somebody who may be willing to jump on a different bull and ride it. I don't know if Mr. Dickinson's going to do that. It'd be nice if we had a combined personality of the two.
Exactly. No, and to be honest, that's what I propose. Is that it's
It'd be
too
nice
bad.
if we had a hybrid of
Yes.
it, but we don't.
And it's too bad. I know it's obviously great thing about it. It's almost too bad that those two put their names forward, right? So in the election right now, it's going to be leader and deputy. It is almost too bad that we can't have those two go together. There's going to be the two people, and they themselves decide for which period of time how it's going to work, that one's leader and one's deputy, because right now we need those two together. We need those two heads. Because as you said, there's a very strong social element that ties in with Jason, and a very strong fiscal element that ties in with Curtis. And we don't seem to understand that those two things can come together, as opposed to right now, there's a complete separation. It's one or the other, and not the two.
All right. Well, here's how I kind of reasoned it out. One day when I was sitting there floating on my boat, I went through the same exercise. And I realized something that my mentor, Mr. Hall, said to me.
Judy? Wow.
One day we were sitting off at his hotel room up the wharf there. This was in the middle of the trial that he won, where they wrongfully accused him of stealing money from one of his clients. And he said, Charles, a really good leader knows how to choose people who know what they're talking about and surround himself with them.
That sounds like him too, by the way.
And then, when they give him advice, he takes it.
And I'm smiling. He didn't always do that, by the way. I used to work for him.
Yeah.
When he was down front.
That was him, straight
wow.
up.
Wow.
And it made perfect sense to me. He said, you can't know everything. And he was speaking about the current premier. He said, he can't know everything. But provided he knows who to ask for answers and trust the answers he's getting, then he'll be fine. A good leader, he said, knows how to surround himself with people who can give him good advice. And I'm saying that to say this. Where Jason falls down fiscally, just my opinion,
Sure.
he can get brilliant minds to advise him on that. Where Curtis fails to make the connection socially, I'm sorry, I can't be taught. It
is what it is.
It has to be lived.
Yeah.
It has to be cultivated through experience. And I'm not saying that would influence if I was in the room voting, might vote one way or the other. But when I sift through it all, those are the things that I think about.
Wow.
I think that Jason's shortcomings in he could get a brilliant economist to advise him. Problem solved. I mean, the decisions would still be his.
Yes.
He would still have the moral imperative to execute his electorate's view. But if he can get great financial advice from a wizardry mind, he's actually one step up. We're getting the benefit of that. The other side, that connection to the people, that shared struggle, that thing there, it means a lot to some people that you understand that.
And with that, you've gone a lot further than I thought you would, but it's like, so right now the risk is, and if I am either candidate, right, I would recognize that. Oh, jeez, Lord have mercy. Oh, dear. Okay, cause I'm sorry, I wasn't even looking at the phone. Charles just said, "Hey, look at the phones for a minute." Okay, let me take a call, and then I'm gonna come back and figure out how to do this thing. 1 second. So, well done. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening.
I'm sorry for holding on for so long, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. I just dialed.
Wow. Got straight to go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm glad. In regards to, and Mr. Richardson as well, in regards to the delegates, you were talking about what the delegates should do when they go to the Central Committee. Is that what they call it? When they go to do the voting for this new premier and everything like that?
Just go to, it's just a night they're going to vote for everything, the delegates conference.
Yeah, right. Okay, so if I elected you as a delegate, and they should convey the whatever my constituency wants to do in regards to the leader, and not go on their own volition. That's the way I look at it, because you are the delegate is representing me, the constituency, and inside the constituency, what we should be doing is voting as to which one we want for the premier, and then we go that way.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of commentary on Facebook about who should pick a leader and all that kind of stuff. And there's a little bit of integrity that will have to come into play because of the fact that if I'm a delegate, I really wanted delegate A, but everybody else in my constituency wants B, I cannot go and go against what the constituency wants. But that's where integrity comes into play, because apparently it's a secret ballot. I didn't know how all of that operates, but apparently it is secret ballot that they go to do that, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When I say secret, mean is like, for example, I go up, I fill in what I fill in, and I drop it in a box. And so that, in that sense, yes, the secret, yes.
Yeah, a secret ballot.
Sure.
You're not putting your hand up for everybody
Correct.
to know who you voted for.
Correct.
And then the other thing, I in the media as well, I don't appreciate the way, I would say I vote PLP, and I don't think I would vote for the other party at this stage. But I don't appreciate the way the people in the media, social media, have said about Mr. Ryan Panji.
Yes.
Him taking on that ministry. 1 minute they say, "Oh, let the young people take it on." Next, and otherwise, they say, "Let the old people get out of the debate."
Right.
Okay, he's taking it on, and it's my understanding that he has been on a couple of boards within his ministry.
Yes.
So what we need to do is just like how Mr. Richardson said just now, is that we get people to help him in this situation. It's going to be just like for now, for the next 4 months.
Right.
All depends who gets elected, whether or not they're going to take him on again as a minister. So you may as well call it interim.
Right. But hold on, ma'am.
And that goes for all three of them.
Hold on, but the reality, though, is that, and I'll just, I wouldn't speak for Charles, but I'll just try to reinforce what he said, and that is this a legitimate opportunity, given that it's only 3 months, or not only, but there's 3 months. And so it's not the same as, okay, fine, a young person's coming along, give him time to, like, give him 2 or 3 years. This is not the same. It's not the same. So that's the question.
No, but I can understand that. It's only, like, it's going to be...
No, that's a real question, though, in terms of, is there, and I'll say this myself, is this a genuine opportunity for him to succeed, given the limited time span?
It's almost like a probation period, really, if you think about it. But the thing is, now, I don't know all what transpired between, the before current minister of thing, but there was a lot of talk on social media again, and so did the premier take that and then more or less tell Mr. Weeks, okay, you need to go now and all that kind of, it's a whole lot.
I'll leave that for now. Let's take some more calls and see what happens, okay? Thank you.
One more.
Okay.
I just want to wish Mr. Don't kill him. But I think he's strong enough to take this on for the next couple of months. And after that, we'll see what happens.
Sure. Understood.
But it doesn't matter that let's just be nice.
Sure.
Let's just be nice.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Man. Good evening, caller. Welcome to... That one's done. Good evening. Welcome to... Oh, wow. No going. Okay. Oh, man. This is your fault. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening.
Yes.
Back in the day, I'm not going back too far.
Can you write it down first, caller, please?
I'm not going back too far. The counterbalance to government used to be the Bermuda Industrial Union. And the Bermuda Industrial Union was significant in the way that it represented the people of this island. Charles, and Ken. That's a reference to the brother that's sitting in the seat right there. He will probably know who's speaking because we used to have serious conversations. Charles, and Ken. Now, the counterbalance to the governments of the day, whether PPLC or back in the day, the UPP was the Bermuda Industrial Union. And back then, the union, the membership used to comprise of, let's say, 50% construction workers, and the other 50% comprised of hotel, telco, Belco, and the rest.
Right.
And it used to be a very strong union.
I got you.
At any time there was something going on in the country, BIU represented the people.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Appreciate that.
You're going to cut me off?
Well, it's a lot of lines. It's
okay.
I'm gonna put Charles on the spot, right? He has to come back, and we have to have a show like just a pure call-in show as opposed to us talking, because like tonight, just the lines are lighting up. It's questions on Facebook, not an answer.
I hear what the caller is saying. I get the point that he's making, and he's right. Once upon a time, if government wasn't doing what it was supposed to do, the BIU or some of the workers' unions were essentially the social organizations that stood up and forced them to be accountable.
But was it only when it was not the PLP?
No, not just, but it was only confined to, and still is, to workers' issues.
Okay.
And those issues don't reverberate, even though we all work. They don't reverberate universally throughout the entire community. So the unions do still play that role, in my opinion, but they don't represent every Bermudian's interests.
Gotcha.
Not every Bermudian is a union member.
Understood. All right.
So that's the limitations on that as a counterbalance.
Okay. Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Man. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment? Caller, quick. Somebody's calling the overseas line. That's why I'm trying to get them.
I see.
Okay. Overseas person, call back, and then we will try to take that call. Good evening, caller. Hold on a second, please. Just 1 second. So are you able to, there's a question on Facebook, right, which asks, can we clearly explain how the leader is elected? What's the real process, how a delegate selected, and this thing? Are you able to comment on that?
I don't know how the delegates are selected.
Okay, so I'll do that.
I heard
then.
somebody say earlier that they are elected. I
Yes.
don't know if that's necessarily true.
No, that's selected. So callers, what happens, just real quick, is that I'm a former member of parliament, so I do understand this process. What happens is the number of delegates that each constituency has depends upon how many members there are. I don't remember the exact numbers, but that's what happens. And so based upon your number of members, you'll be saying, okay, fine, you have, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4 delegates, let's say. Then there's a branch meeting, and at the branch meeting, you are elected or selected, because difference. You are chosen as delegate. So I can say, for example, who wants to be a delegate? I put my hand up. If we have 3 allocations and only 3 people put their hands up, then those 3 will be chosen as delegates. If there's more than 3, if we have 3 spots and say 5 people want to do it, then you have like an election right there and then in terms of who supports each person, and those that get the most support will be chosen as delegates. And so to be clear, let's say in constituency number 7, which is where I was, we are allocated to have 3 delegates. We have a meeting, a properly announced meeting, and 5 people want to be delegates. They say, okay, fine. We only have 3 spots. There are 5. Let's now have a vote in terms of who gets the top 3 that gets the votes will be those that will be delegates. Then what happens is on the night of the delegates conference, which is going to be in October, all delegates are there and they are seated separately. And then when it comes time to vote for the leader, all the delegates will get a chance to go up and select who they want to select, and that goes in a box, and then those people, plus the members of parliament get to vote. Members of the Senate do not get to vote because by definition they have been appointed by the Premier. And so the people that make the decision really are the delegates plus the members of parliament. And then from that, of course, whoever gets the most votes becomes the leader of the party. And then to become Premier, it's the person that commands the majority support of the members of parliament who becomes the Premier. And that conventionally would be the same person, but it doesn't have to be.
Conventionally,
right, it doesn't have to be the same person. And it would be, to be honest, almost an outrage, in my words, if the delegates choose the leader, but then the members of parliament don't support that leader to become Premier. That would be more than chaotic.
But it could happen.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it could happen for sure. In terms of if there is enough numbers, right now it wouldn't happen, I think, but if there was a close enough number like last time and it was like 17, 19, at that point in time, you could have had a leader that's not the Premier. But again, that would have been a bit of a challenge, to be honest. Okay, so and we will see, and again, anybody can join the PLP and go to these meetings and participate. And so it's not as if you're locked out. What does happen though is that the members that can vote on the delegates have to be full paid up members by August 31st of any given year. And so it's going to be interesting to see if there's a large influx of new members within the PLP between now and August 31st, which would obviously be designed to try to sway the votes who becomes a delegate, and then from that, here we go. So,
Okay.
I'm going to take this call, and then we're going to come back and find out how we're going to do this. I'm going to actually try to get Mr. Charles to come back another time, but we'll see what he says. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment? Caller? Come on, caller, quickly. All right, you have to call back. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening, Anthony.
Yes.
I must say, you talk just like a lawyer.
No, that's Charles. That's Charles.
No. I'm talking about you.
Anyway, go quickly because the time is not on our side. Go.
Yes. A couple of quick points. I noticed you choked off on an earlier question. But let me go on to say that it appears that Jason's cabinet may be already appointed. And it is clear that Jason is the Premier's pick. And as such, all resources, influences, or influence of the office of the Premier has been lent to him. So it's noticeable that Mr. Dickinson is fighting an uphill battle, and that I believe his fireside chat is appealing to the nation. He needs to appeal to the 160 delegates. They have the votes. And, this issue of integrity, Bermuda loves leaders that live on the wild side. So going with this integrity line, it's not going to cut it.
That's an opinion.
Let me say this. The greatest need in the world is the need of leadership. But the greatest need in leadership is character. There was a premier who was asked, why did he have a certain man in his cabinet? Because he seemed to object to everything. And the premier replied by saying, you tell me what you think I want to hear. I can always depend on him to tell me the truth.
Understood. Okay. Thank you, caller. Appreciate that. All right. Try one more time. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. See, you can't get that person. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. This was like winning a lottery to get to.
No worries. Well, go for it.
Okay. Charles, I want to begin with you. You started off and you said, and you were correct, this is not a democracy because you have delegates, right? And we're now been talking about how that particular system works. You may be aware, Charles, that this was Jeffrey Bing back in the 60s that helped to write that Constitution. And it effectively, at the time, it wasn't really meant to be a democracy anyway. So one of the things, taking on the word that has come out of your talks, is thinking outside the box. I would say that one of the good things, if possible at all, would be that if there is another leader, and if in fact they're able to have any persuasion with the delegates, is because they're the only ones who could change the Constitution, would be to step up the Constitution, to allow the...
Which Constitution are you referring to? The party Constitution?
The party Constitution, yes. The party Constitution, to allow all the members, because this happens in Canada, this happens in the United States.
I don't want to preempt you, but that could not possibly happen without us changing constitutionally our system of government. This is not the United States where you get to...
No, sorry.
Let me finish. What you're proposing is something like what they have in the United States, where the actual...
Also Canada.
And Canada, I guess. I don't know. Where the actual...
Canada, all the party members can vote.
No, not the party members. It sounds like what you're trying to describe is a system where the actual electorate gets to decide who's going to lead the country.
That would be great if you were talking about the entire country.
Right.
And you're dealing with a presidential sort of style for the entire country.
But we don't have that system here.
Well, caller. One thing I think we have to realize is that no matter what people may say, this process don't work for the PLP.
It works for both parties.
No, we understand it works for the PLP, but it works for some members of the PLP, not the PLP in general. Because the PLP, typically speaking, for example, let's take Southampton Parish as a random choice. Southampton Parish will have about maybe, let's say, any election, at least, let's say the Southampton East would have at least 800 or 900 people that would would support the party, and some of them would say, I've been supporting this party for 60 years, 70 years. I vote PLP every time, right? But you have that same person. That person has never been a delegate, never been a member of the party, but he's always been a supporter of the party.
Okay.
So the point here is that you have far more support than is registered as support. And so what many countries like Canada did, and also in England, the Labour Party in England, by the way.
Okay.
You can, if you're a member of the party, then you're allowed to vote for the leader of that party.
Okay. And so, caller,
it will be infinitely easy.
And see, unfortunately, people don't. I think, okay, what I want to do is be practical, right? And in terms of within the PLP right now, every member of the party does participate in the leader selection. It's a different mechanism, but it does happen because you get a chance to participate in the branch meeting whereby the delegate is chosen.
Yes, okay.
So,
let's say take this tip. I'm going to stick to Southampton.
No, listen, doesn't matter. It's Southampton. The branch.
No. The branch meeting of Southampton will typically take 40 people, 30 people, 40 people.
But hold on, that doesn't matter because.
800.
Listen to me. Listen. Hold on. No. Listen.
It does matter because you're talking about the party.
Okay, hold on a second.
People in, the 40 didn't get the PLP elected.
Hold on a second.
800 they got them elected.
Hold on a second. all 800 have a chance to become party members. That's their choice.
No. A chance and a right is two different
No,
things.
no.
Charles, you're a lawyer. A chance and a right is two different things.
Well, one thing you're not going to do is to make incorrect, blurted out emotional statements and then look to me to co-sign them by saying Charles.
No.
Don't do that.
This is not an emotional
I'm
statement.
not going to agree with you just because you said Charles.
No. Okay, this is not an emotional statement. I'm saying to you that it's a logical statement, not an emotional.
I don't necessarily agree with you.
Okay, hold.
I don't want to debate it.
Right. All right.
Right.
So we're just saying is that 40 members, because they have the privilege, they have the opportunity. You can join, but if you don't join, then you can't exercise your right because you don't have a right. You have a privilege to join, right?
But you can exercise the caller. This is what I think is sometimes we are not realistic, right? Okay, listen. Anybody can join the PLP. So in your example in Southampton East, right? Listen to me.
Anybody can join the UBP. Anybody can join the OBA.
Hold on. Based upon your premise, right? There are 800 people in Southampton East that vote for PLP. Every single person has the choice to join the PLP, and therefore they can participate in the delegate choice. And so to act as if that's not correct, it's just not true.
It is not true.
It is true.
They don't join the party. They don't join the party.
But they can. They can choose to do so.
It's their right.
Okay. All right, caller. So what we're going to do, caller, listen. Because of the time, right? We can talk about this later, but not right now. Okay.
In United
Caller, hold on. What I'm saying is that we can't do it right now. The lines are lit up, so I want to go to a different call. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. But
Okay.
anyway.
Thank you. No worries. Thank you. That's one of the difficulties of doing this show, by the way, because man, caller, are you on the line yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Go for it quickly.
All right, listen, I got 4 quick points. First of all, let's go back to the most important part of the topic, and that will be the corporate international tax. Now, you guys open up some floodgates tonight, and the reality to Bermuda that we've got to realize we are in a bad situation right now, and we need a person that can get in there and fix a lot of these problems. And with the type of money that's coming from the corporate international tax, it scares the life out of me because I'm going to tell you why. If your present administration can deal with what's on the table right now, such as housing, right? And you can say Zanny still was bringing in this trailer park trash and all that. Listen, you got a family down on Chaplain Bay, staying on Chaplain Bay, while you got, and Bermudian family, while you got foreigners working a princess staying at the regiment. But let's go further. When it comes to this whole situation with the corporate international tax, if you cannot handle the financial side of the economy right now with all the problems that Bermuda City is not being faced. I heard Jason Hayward a couple of weeks back saying how good the economy was looking in 2025. Like, does this guy live in this island? You've got the majority of the black community that Jason does get along with and Jason can represent that is suffering big time. But the biggest problem, and I like what Rodney said, you put Jason Hayward in come October, guess what's going to happen? David Burt will remain as the finance minister, and he will continue to run the economy, to run the public purse.
Caller. You're making assertions that are not true. So what's the next one? You say you have 4 to make. CIT, what's your next 3?
Okay, now I can't see how you say it's not true. Let's see in October. If Jason gets here, you'll see stuff that would happen. I don't think Jason will pick his own cabinet. I think basically his cabinet has been picked for him.
That's more than assumption.
Let's go back to the students.
You got 4, caller. Caller. Listen to me. Caller, I'm going to cut you off, right? Unless you tell me what are the other 3 points. You said CIT, what's the other 3?
Homelessness in Bermuda.
Okay, homelessness.
Bishop Spencer School was allocated to the Salvation Army.
Okay, got you. Homelessness, what's the next one, caller? CIT, homelessness, what's next?
Well, no, let's just leave it right there at the homelessness. I just want to make the point that the homeless problem right now has to be fixed, Mr. Richardson. You know that.
Okay.
You can't say that Zane is doing it. He isn't. And Zane keeps using this about the previous administration. You guys have been in power 28 years minus 1 time.
Okay, I got you, caller. What's next?
Point it back to the UBP.
What's next, caller?
All right.
Okay.
See, all I can say, the bottom line is when it comes to the delegates, the PLP has too many loyalists in there. And that's why you have a brilliant mind like Ryan Robinson, parent chief. Not because of his qualification, but because of loyalists being tied to who? His parents. And I'm going to leave it right there.
Okay. That's not true, by the way, but go ahead. Okay, thank you, caller. And so I'll say, Mr. Charles,
Hey.
this is clearly a difficult conversation, not difficult, but I mean in terms of timing, right? Because everybody has an opinion,
Yes.
and it's difficult to challenge their opinion because they can't, in some cases, can't support it. It's my opinion. I think, like, for example, just now, this idea that if Anthony Hayward becomes the leader, his cabinet's going to be chosen for him, and the minister's going to be, and David Burt's going to remain Minister of Finance is not true. In the context of,
You don't know that.
well, in the context of what has been said. So we will see.
Well-
But it's hard to see that.
Oh, I see
You know
what
what I
you
mean?
mean in terms of the Premier's fiscal board, his rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's take all these calls and then we'll see which ones we're going to answer. And oh my goodness gracious me. So I'm going to try what the leaders are doing right. And that is for the public to bring pressure on Charles Richardson to return as a guest. So we have a show where it's just all call-ins because now we're going to run out of time. In any event, good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment? That one's going. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Go ahead, Mr. Richardson, trying to get through.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Anyway, look, I'm just going to say this. I agree with what that gentleman said just now.
Yes.
Because I feel that if Mr. Hayward gets in charge, he will have the people who will agree with him, working with him, and that makes sense. But it was too bad that him and Mr. Dickinson, if they both get in blood out, they couldn't work together, you know, especially with this corporate tax coming out. That's all I'm going to say tonight. It's a sad situation because there are a lot of people who want Mr. Dickinson. I'll tell you right now. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.
Thank you. Actually, can I draw you on that comment,
that?
Charles, in terms of the leadership election is internal with the 160 I was referring to, right? But both of those both candidates are very much public, which I critiqued at a point in time, whereas now I have a slight different opinion in terms of, I wouldn't say which one, but one of them has a great advantage externally than internally. So one has a more natural appeal to the broader public
That's Curtis.
than internally, which would be Jason.
Yes.
Right? And so I was thinking this is kind of a dangerous thing. However, now I have a slightly different appreciation in terms of if Curtis is able to demonstrate a strong public preference for him, there would have to be some realization on behalf of the delegates that you have to reflect the public to some degree.
It doesn't have to be.
Well, you don't have to, but not have to, but there is a reality that has to be taken into consideration. That I, as a delegate, I'm going to maybe make a decision that's contrary to what, if it can be demonstrated, public opinion. And then you have an issue, which is even more important, is that if you get to a point whereby the broad public say yes to Curtis, the delegates say no to Curtis and Jason wins, and then there's a general election. Because the possibility would then be that I thought that the person should be Curtis, and it wasn't him. So you party delegates did not support or do what I want you to do, still from not come out and vote.
Right.
And so that's going to be a challenge, I think, no matter who have a wins, rather, to quickly understand that now you may have won the battle, but the war is winning the next election and having to do that. So
that is a very real issue here. I mean, I'm going to assume that before Curtis threw his name in the hat for leader, he sounded out the delegates to see if he had popular support. If he didn't, that would be a tragic oversight. I'm going to assume he didn't do that. And I'm going to assume Jason did the same thing.
Remember, Curtis ran last time also.
I know. That's true. But again, there's no guarantee that the people who voted against him last time won't vote against him again this time.
Correct. And that is a reality. And, I don't know this, but from what I guess is being said, and I don't know, I have not heard it. But if the Premier supports Jason, there's almost by default that the delegates that supported the Premier last time...
I've heard people say that. I don't know.
Right, I haven't seen it. Someone told me it's in the public domain. I just have not seen it. But anyway, in the context that you would expect then that the delegates that supported the Premier would then support Jason, and then Jason should win from the delegates.
I would like to think that the delegates that
Unless they
supported
change.
the Premier, now being faced with a new choice between Curtis and Jason, would exercise their own independent judgment and wouldn't follow the edicts of the outgoing leader. I would like to assume that they have a bit more testicular fortitude than that.
But again, they supported him last time for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason would be, but
they may have supported him to that, but he's not there this time.
Gotcha.
You mean Curtis or David?
The current premier. So what I'm saying is that
he's not going to be involved this time.
Right, but having said that, but what's interesting is, so you have a strong support base. If you say, well, Anthony's my guy, then a lot of times there's people who translate your support for me to vote for me.
Some people will blindly follow that edict.
Gotcha.
I agree.
So we got to see we got to find out how many will not blindly follow that are then potentially swing voters.
But something was said to me just today, actually, that resonates right now, that both things can be true, you know. A person could be following the edict, but they could also believe that that person is the right choice for the party.
Yes, that's correct.
I would like to think that nobody would simply do it just because they've been told to.
Well,
if I'm going to sit here and make the assumption that there are people like that in the delegate section of the Progressive Labour Party, then
no, because it makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I have to assume that these people are going to bring their own deliberation to bear on who they think is the best suited person, and they're going to do it based on things that they probably know about these two individuals that we do not.
Yes, that's true. Fair enough. All right, do my best now. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes. Good evening, gentlemen.
Go ahead. Be concise.
Bringing up this conversation.
Yes.
I'm going to be precise. So you have to be very minute. Okay. Boy, it was a lot of talking just now, but just listening to you two just talking about between Jason and Mr. Dickinson, and of course the public, as well, and the delegates. The delegates should take also into consideration the views of the public when it does come to these types of selections. They are the only insight into that. But looking at the approach to wanting to be premier, so a concern that I have in the sense of looking at Mr. Dickinson, and bear with me now. My concern is his approach that he's taken towards wanting to become premier and the leader of the country and the leader of the party. And as being premier, you have the right of the yes or no or what's going on or what should be done in the party. Isn't that correct? The premier has the final say?
He is the leader of the cabinet.
Theoretically.
Yes.
No, he doesn't. He's not a dictator for sure. He doesn't have that ability.
No, I didn't say that, but I'm just saying that is the right of the premier. Is that right?
To have the last say?
To have the last say.
No.
Not really, no.
But what's your point?
He can disagree with whatever minister that brings forward something that they want to do, and he has the right to say yes or no. I don't think we should go in that direction, right? Let's put it that way.
But I guess so.
Yeah, okay, well, no, just to put it in that, not to say anybody's being dictated or he is a dictator. Well, what I'm saying is this. Now, looking back at the approach towards Mr. Dickinson's coming and wanting to be premier of the country, now, first thing, you have to respect the decision of the premier, number one, okay? Because he is the man that invited you into the cabinet in order to be whatever he would decide that he wants you to be. Either the finance minister or,
be more concise there, caller. The premier can appoint whoever he wants to.
I'm not getting to that, but I'm listening to what I'm saying. Now, I'm just saying in the sense that I'm looking at that approach and which happened when it came to the South Princess and the $75 million that the premier wanted to be to give to these people for a guarantee. And it was all out in the public, and Mr. Dickinson disagreed with that. And of course, that caused some conflict between him and the premier, as we had seen spoiled out into the general public, where
okay, hold on, quick, hold on a second. Hold on. Make your point real quick because time is not on our side.
All of this is my point. And he had disagreed with that.
Okay, so listen.
No, you're cutting me off before you even allow me to finish.
Well, quickly, make your point, then. Make your point quick.
I am making my point. All of this is what I'm saying is my point. My point is that He disagreed with that. And of course, it caused a conflict between him and the Premier due to the fact that the Premier wanted to do what he had said that he wanted to do, as far as that money being delegated to that company. And of course, now, after that decision was made by the Premier, Mr. Dickinson disagreed with it. And guess what he done after that? He stepped down.
Yes. So what's the point?
Yes. Okay, listen. He stepped down as the finance minister and left the country without a finance minister during the time in which that a budget was supposed to be put forward.
Press pause, caller. Press pause.
Right, okay.
Former Minister Dickinson, former Minister Dickinson said that he resigned because he could no longer support the general direction of the decision of cabinet. Fine, that's approach. What's your next comment?
Exactly. Now, this is what I'm saying, and here it is in the sense that if you want to disagree with your cabinet, now you're coming forward, now you want to be Premier, and you get a decision that comes from the Premier of the country who has to say yes or no, and you're disagreeing with that particular person, and now you're coming forward and saying that you want to be Premier of the country, but you don't respect the decision of the Premier. This is what I am saying. I'm not supporting anybody. I'm just looking at the fact in which what happened.
Okay.
And now.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You are now coming forward to be. You're coming forward to be there. Now, if that's the type of decisions that you want to make as a person being a member of the public or the cabinet, and so what are you telling us, sir, in the general public, in the sense that you want to be Premier, but yet you don't want to respect the decision in the office in which that you were given to by the Premier?
Okay, I got you, caller. I will summarize that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, I used to have a radio show right in this same room.
Oh, I did that.
It's called Court Radio.
Oh, wow.
Me and Van Cairns. And I had to deal with the same thing.
It's hard, because I don't want to be rude, but...
You don't want to be rude, but people have to realize that they have a responsibility when they call the radio station to actually say something informative and not just ramble on so you can hear your own voice. I'm not just... It's a fine line. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So really, I mean, just to close that comment is that if you're in cabinet, you don't agree with a series of comments, you resign, and there's nothing wrong with Curtis then coming back and saying
you get replaced by the Premier.
And there's no reason why he can't, Mr. MP Dickinson cannot come back now and say, I want to be leader. That's fine. No issue with that at all. Okay, good evening, caller. What's your question or comment? Please be concise.
Good evening, Anthony. A great show tonight.
Thank you.
It's not easy being a radio host when you're dealing with current affairs.
Yes, sir.
But be that as it may, Charles has a superb analytical perspective and is obviously politically astute. With that in mind, given the time restraints, if Charles is agreeable, please feel free to carry on the show until you both so decide in mutual consent when to shut it down.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's Brother Glenn. And again, congratulations for what you do on behalf of Bermuda, because you are the one, you and your wife and the whole team, right, that makes this possible. So thank you so much.
Well, the whole team, a lot more than me. And of course, Charles is also a very worthy former employee.
Yeah, he just wanted to make cool radio happen.
Communications. He was the first lawyer with Wayne Cairns that facilitated court radio on Hot 107.5 many years ago when we started.
Excellent. Thanks again. Okay, thanks, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye. Good evening, caller. What's your question or comment? Welcome to Insight.
I would just like to comment on that comment that Charles said. No, I don't want to hear my own voice.
No, don't worry. That's fine. That's fine. That's a throwaway.
I can understand how you feel.
Don't worry.
I'm not supporting.
That's okay, caller.
And that you support.
That's fine, caller. Thank you.
In the sense of Mr. Dickinson.
That's right.
But I was just bringing that forward in the sense to the approach of wanting to be Premier, but yet you don't respect the decision of the Premier. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He actually called back to say that.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment, caller?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I was kind of listening to your show, and it struck me as how you were saying that because Mr. Dickinson is running a campaign based on principled leadership or what have you, there was a suggestion that there was no principle in the leadership in the party at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Right? But you wouldn't say the same thing about Jason Hayward, who would say, well, I'm running as the best man to unify the party. and you wouldn't say that there's disunity in the party, right?
No, I would say that. No, I would say that. I would say that, yes.
Oh, you would say that?
Of course.
Oh, wow. Okay, right.
Why are you surprised?
Because you didn't say it. You didn't say it, right? You know, if there was why, what is going against Mr. Dickinson, you were quite clear, right?
Okay, let's press pause.
He wasn't a people person.
No, let's press pause. Let's press pause, right?
Okay, go
Just so you understand. I went to a meeting. Well, first of all, I was like generally surprised about the inference or the commentary about integrity around leadership, because right away in my mind it is, if you say that, that means it doesn't exist, and there is no proof in my mind that it existed, right? And so that was part of the emphasis for the meeting today. It wasn't about Jason or Curtis for that matter. It was just the overall theme was that it's very dangerous for us to buy into a commentary around integrity or lack of integrity, because it has a negative impact on the national psyche. The same thing happened, by the way, when I was a member of parliament, when it came to the emphasis from the OBA that there was corruption. I always spoke against that because it is ridiculous, it's crazy, it's dangerous, right? If you start to carry on these little undertones, because it falls down to the young people. Young people have a different interpretation. So you and I have a conversation, an argument, verbal, that in my mind becomes, fists and guns and knives. And so we have to be responsible about our interactions. So there is nothing in this case in terms of anti-Curtis or anti-Jason. It was what I was talking about integrity. That's my point. So go ahead.
But even that, right? You know, again, you would say that Curtis is not a people person.
I didn't say no such thing.
Well, that's the perception. That's the perception, right? But in actual fact, when he was Minister of Finance, he gave funds to the people. He bailed out South Peak, and also during COVID was most concerned about, people not being able to work and them putting money in people's pockets. Right? So it's like almost like a non-starter, right? And so therefore, I'm saying to you that if these two leaders are from the party, right?
Yeah.
Then the party should have a very clear understanding of, oh wow, guys, you can't say that about this guy, right? He's actually a party member too, right? And so what you're doing, if the paper doesn't discredit it, right? Discredit the person, then guess what you're doing? You are discrediting him.
No. Okay, let's be clear. Just thank you for that, by the way. Because I want to be very clear, rather. I am not here to support Jason or Curtis or nothing. That's not at all. Right? So just be careful. So I'm also not trying to discredit him.
Certainly
right?
nobody's done that.
At all.
No one's done that.
Right.
But I'm saying to you, right?
Yes.
That if one person is basing his campaign on unity within the party,
yes,
and another person is basing their campaign on integrity leadership, right? You understand?
Yes.
Then it would be dangerous for anybody to say, oh, wow, these guys, what is the party saying? You can't say that about one leader that I'm trying to put forward, and you can't say it about the other leader that I'm putting forward.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
You understand what I'm saying?
I don't see the point.
Anyway,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. But thanks, because I am mindful of because I'm here talking, right? I am not mindful necessarily of the impression that's going out of the airwaves. So I take that point, and I appreciate you calling to say that.
I'm saying to you that is the impression that
okay.
I would receive
sure.
listening to somebody that says, oh, we're talking about leadership, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And one person has strengths in one area, but he's weak in another area, right? And then the other person is like, oh, well, he's strong as more of a people person, but he might not be strong as a finance minister, right?
But
both candidates could, in my opinion,
sure.
right, are good candidates. Right?
Yes.
And I think what people have to do, right, is look at themselves clearly and say, oh, wow, what do I believe,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if any of the delegates went and says, oh, well, I'm just going to vote for Jason because, he's my man, then I'll tell you what, you haven't opened up your eyes to the position itself.
Yes, I got you. Understand.
The urgency of the position itself.
Yeah.
You understand? Because it's like a saying like, oh, low cost housing exists in Bermuda. You could say that, but I could tell you it doesn't exist.
Agreed.
It doesn't exist, and it's clear when you would get the new housing minister who would say, well, look, I'm gonna borrow $60-something million to put in, and the average cost of their term is going to be $795,000 for each term. And I look at it and say, well, Is that low-cost housing? It's not like you're building block and mortar.
Right.
This is like concrete slabs that you're putting together.
Understood.
Right? And it's still going to cost you $700 and something thousand per unit.
And the reality is,
doesn't exist.
And the reality
right?
is,
we have to be honest with ourselves and say that.
Yes.
Right?
And so, Colin, I made the point, by the way, that in down at Southside, government built houses there, right, at a price of, let's say, $400,000 and sold them at $200,000 because they knew that the cost is not reflective or going to be affordable by the home purchasers. And so,
how many years ago was that?
I don't know, 20 years ago, I suppose. And so the same thing applies.
20 years later, and that figure that I saw of $700 and something thousand per unit, I'm looking at it and say, well, oh my God.
But again,
what are you doing?
But again, as Charles said earlier, right, that's going to have, somebody has to make a decision to say, listen, we're going to build houses and sell them at less than cost in order to rectify the situation, because that's the reality. And we haven't had that conversation. So part of my thing today also, by the way, was to have like a vision statement for Bermuda. And that might be, for example, that, I don't know, in the next 10 years, we're going to make sure that the home ownership increases by, let's say, 10%. And this is how I'm going to do it. We don't have that. I've not heard that in the public arena for that example or anything else for that matter.
Okay.
All right?
I'm listening.
Good. So thank you. Appreciate that.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to say, Mr. Charles, it's not too late, but, and of course, you're not going to ask me now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, we can keep on going, or we can come back another time, or not do it at all, because it's enough. You've done your bit in terms of raising the discussion. As I knew what would take place, you have a following. I said before, you are a thought leader. And clearly some things you said tonight have been quite different from the start. You wouldn't even answer as a premier because you resigned.
Because that was a trap.
That's not a whole different conversation. So you want to go a little bit longer? What you want to do? Phone's still ringing. I don't know what you want to do.
We can take one or two more.
It is late, that's for sure. Good evening, caller. Please be concise. Turn your radio down first, though.
Okay, look, man. I never need government support to run them hotels. I have enough shares in the bank to take care of that, sir.
Yes, I got you.
I don't see why the premier and others didn't see that.
Okay, got you. So the government should not do it.
No, I'm saying I don't see why they never came to me, say, per se, sit down and have a conversation. Okay. Because I called the health department this week, last week, and because
we outside?
It's opening up his own hotel, get clear to a hotel.
Yes.
It has the housing section and a 5 other sections.
Okay, no? I got you. All
right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you, caller. All right. He was outside, that's for sure.
He's outside already.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Greetings, Jen. Is Mr. Richardson, well, you're both Richardsons. Charles is still in the house?
Of course.
All right, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Charles, this is Jamal Hartman here. I've been listening tonight.
Sure.
And I just want to say I appreciate Charles making the time, because usually I only catch his commentary on Facebook these days, right?
Yes, sir.
No, man. Honestly, it's refreshing, because I think, someone sent me the link, and people have been asking my opinion about what happened last week, and I'm, got family in town, and just taking a couple days off from doing my show.
Okay.
But I really hope that people are not overlooking what Charles has said tonight, as well as yourself. And what I mean by that is the gentleman who called just now spoke about how he basically was saying that it came across as there was intent to criticize Mr. Dickinson and not Jason in some way, right?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm got from this. From this entire conversation, Charles is literally saying what I've said over and over. And let me be clear, and I'll repeat it later this week on my show.
Sure.
And Charles, feel free. I'm not trying to talk for you. I'm just trying to summarize, because I just think it's unfair for people to take things from what he's saying as in what I don't think he means. What I think he's said is we literally, the general public, are hyping one candidate up as this savior for our economy, right? Well, basically, the other candidate who has a career in pretty much the economy as far as the blue-collar workers concerned, right? But doesn't have the fancy suits or the fancy private sector background, so we don't trust that person. And I almost feel like it's coming down to a private sector versus public sector conversation. Let me be very clear, and I'm going to say this. I am not confident in either candidate. I'm going to be real with you. But both candidates have an opportunity to change my mind, right? I think we have to listen to what Charles said earlier, because it's not the first time we've heard it. This is not the first time we've heard someone say, just because someone has a business background, David Burt, the Premier, said it to me on the Daily Hour. Just because someone's good at business doesn't mean they'll equate to good governance.
Correct, it doesn't.
And the last thing I want to say about it, Charles didn't say this. These are my words, and I will repeat it. Curtis Dickinson, all my love for you, brother. But you're running a campaign as if you're the opposition. You are part of the government. You are the government. Stop running this campaign as if you ain't been in the rooms. And if you haven't been in the rooms, that's even more reason why people will question your intent.
Okay.
And Jason, one last thing for Jason. For Jason,
He just had
brother,
to murder in his mouth.
for the life of me, to Jason Hayward. I know that both candidates don't seem like people persons. And I think Curtis Dickinson is doing a good job of not being his authentic self, which I guess is needed in politics. You have to be somebody else. You have people to like you. But, Jason, you might have to match that somehow. Because at the end of the day, I think, Brother Anthony, you may have said it earlier, it's a very public campaign, and one person seems to have a lot of respect and, I guess, following from outside. And the other seems to have a lot of, respect and a following inside. And one last thing, I promise, my last thing, integrity. Charles spoke a lot about integrity and ethicals earlier, right?
Yeah.
And I know you cleared it up in terms of you being at the constituency meeting last week. But I cannot stand to hear the way that the word integrity is being thrown around. Integrity is not just about what you do and say. It's also about who you surround yourself with. And if you have been a part of a party where you think that, someone said, oh, well, Jason's talking about bringing the party together. Yeah, he's in the party. He can still say he wants to, it's not as unified as it could be. That's not a bad thing. But you cannot talk about being unethical or and a lack of integrity while you literally are part of the party. And it's like, well, what have you been doing? So I'll leave it there. But I just felt the need to kind of thank Charles. I want to thank him for expressing what he did tonight. And now I don't have to go on Facebook to see what's the latest on his thoughts on this.
I'll check you later.
Well done. That's a good back end. A good back end, I should say. Well done. And thanks for calling. All right.
Cool.
Gotcha. It's
on an important point.
Yeah. And so just to be very clear, right? This was not a show about supporting Curtis or whatever. And it's interesting because people make assumptions, right, about who I vote for. And by the way, as it stands right now, I have no vote.
Right.
Because I'm not a delegate. I'm not a member of parliament. So right now, unless something changes, I have no vote whatsoever. I can comment. I can't stop.
And what I'm going to do
what it
is what I think every other member is probably going to do who's not a delegate. We right now just have to trust the delegates to weigh up all of the information and make the right decision.
But
Jamal Dawes touched on a very important but very subtle point.
Which is what?
Which is sort of kind of what we were saying earlier, that the nature of the campaign that Curtis is running seems to suggest that there has been a decision that the present government, the present leadership of the PLP lacks some type of, integrity.
And that's actually interesting to me because the that's what it was to me. And I said to some other people that if you accuse the government of having no integrity prior to last January, I was part of the team. And so when there were questions about whatever, I would go and ask the person. And so granted, you might lie to me. That's, yes, but I need to go by what you told me. And so if somebody says, Charles, whatever, I don't know you that well, but if I know you well, I'll say, Charles, what's the deal about this? If you lie to me, then that's on you, not on me. I will go on what you tell me, unless there's a reason why not. You know what I mean? And so I asked the questions, I got the answer I needed, and so I'm not aware of any acts of integrity, of dishonesty, that kind of stuff. So
you're not aware of any acts which would lack integrity.
Correct. Yeah. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, Mr. Richardson, I'm back on. It's true what people said when the last voting, when the PLP got in again. I asked some people, why didn't you vote? They said because there's no integrity. I said, well, where do you get that from?
Yes.
It's out there. I mean, and it makes it sound so bad for the party. You know, and nobody knows. They can't say it. They can't say where they get it from, but they say there's no integrity.
Yeah,
and it's a bad thing. It looks bad on the party. A lot of people didn't vote purposely. You all must know that.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, and if somebody gets in and they don't want, they may not vote the next time. That's all I'm saying, boss.
Correct.
Have a good night.
Thank you. And, I know time's not on our side now, but I think that you made the point, right? And I don't want to lose that point in terms of, I said it really about the last election. It's not about anything except money. In the sense that this whole corporate income tax, it's a massive amount of money.
Huge.
And more so than any of us can even imagine. And so whether it be the Premier or the Minister of Finance, that person will have a significant impact on the decision of what we do going forward.
Well, there's already been some indication of what at least the Burt government, Burt-led government, intended to do with that corporate income tax.
Yes.
And that was to ring fence it and not to completely funnel it into everyday operations.
Correct.
But to use it to specifically target some of the issues in which we're lacking and to rapidly bring us up to speed. I don't think that's a bad idea. It hasn't yet come to fruition because of the fact we're not up to David's watch because we're in transition now. So just to bring it back home, the next leader of the PLP is going to decide whether that remains the policy.
Yes.
Or has a very strong voice in determining whether that remains the policy, to fence it, and use it as a fast injection to making improvements in certain vital key areas, or to basically bleed it in to the existing apparatus and just use it to fund existing operations. Now, one choice would be what I would consider to be an example of visionary leadership.
Okay.
The other choice would be conventional leadership. I'll leave it to you to decide which one I would label which.
Sure. And I think that's before, the premise of this show was about financial literacy. And when I was like a member of parliament, I was obviously in the room, discussions, whatever, right? And so the reality is that the government, like everybody agrees that that Bermuda has a high debt. It's got to be paid down. What the OBA basically said was take all the money and pay all the debt down as soon as you can. What the PLP said was we're going to take some of the money and pay down the debt, but always have extra money left over just in case you have to do other things. Heaven forbid we have COVID again, not that, but there are things that have to be done. For example, education, housing, healthcare, all that kind of thing.
Education,
and so there's got to be,
and healthcare.
And healthcare. I mean, healthcare is huge. Yeah. And with healthcare, for example, one idea was that the true cost of healthcare is too much to pay. So therefore, you take some money and you would subsidize it effectively, because that's the only way to bring it down. And so you're right. There are some generic plans, but they get caught up because of all this other stuff. And I think what's also honest is that, broadly speaking, right, the PLP are still criticized for being unable to manage the economy, even though it's not necessarily true. If you look at recent times, it's not true anymore. And so that's the dilemma. Before it was the OBA or the UBP were able to manage the economy and PLP the people, and not the reverse.
Right.
Whereas now it's not true.
No.
And we collectively have to get over ourselves in understanding that. And again, it's in the best interest of some to continue that narrative, because guess what? I'm going to have all the money.
Right.
And so I now need to paint a picture that you're incompetent because you're going to have all the money and you're going to decide stuff. And that's what it is.
Well,
and so it's crazy.
We're at a pivotal time because there used to be an issue where are we going to get the money to make these infrastructure changes? This will be the first fiscal year that there actually will be money to make these infrastructure changes. And it's been something that this government has been saying it wants to put itself in a position to do for some time. And a lot of people saying you've been in government for this long and nothing's changed. The reality is that policies, when pronounced, they may sometimes take 10 to 15 years to actually manifest themselves in your pocket, in your house. I don't think some people appreciate that it's not some grand declaration like the wizard from Hogwarts, and then all of a sudden, your electricity bill is reduced or the cost of living comes down. There's a very long process it takes from A to B. I think some people have become impatient.
Yes, that's for sure.
In waiting for these changes to come, and as a result of the changes not coming, you know what? somebody must be taking money, somebody must be doing something. Then you get some media organization who has ill intentions, there's a lack of integrity. That's it right there.
Yeah,
and
okay.
off it goes. So just look at the evidence. If you really see evidence of a lack of integrity in government, call it what it is.
Yeah.
But just be careful you're not labeling a simple inability to achieve certain goals as something that it isn't.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's a good time to conclude. I haven't, and I apologize, normally I go check my phone. I've done any of that stuff. It's just been the phone calls and Charles talking and us having a conversation. Definitely want to thank you. It was a long time coming.
Sure.
A long time coming, everybody. But again, thank you. And I knew that you would have very insightful comments. Right from the start, you took me off my thing because you would not even talk about the leadership where I wanted to go. That's all fine. But again, that's what I expect. It's a spontaneous show. I do hope that you'll come back at another point in time to talk some more, whether it be between, sooner rather than later, I'm not sure, but anyway, do that. And again, congratulations on you, on what you do. Obviously, people see you on Facebook, and it's almost no matter what you say, whatever comment you make, people have comments about that. I mean, it's always insightful. The most recent one I saw was about the landlord. That no matter that some landlords will just be terrible, but if you're paying rent, you have rights.
Yeah.
And you're happy that your landlord is not one of those categories.
No, I'm not a good landlord.
Right, you said that. So that was good. And then the other one you talked about, which recently made me smile, was the correction around Bermuda Day.
Right.
Right now, I'm at the same spot, let's say, for the past 20 years, and that's ridiculous because you can't come without a fight, you know what I mean?
No.
But the solution would be, as you suggested, just charge some people just a nominal amount, not to make money, but to make it whereby you register, and therefore you can make some changes.
I mean, the only point I was trying to make, there are some Bermudian traditions that Bermudians have never fully enjoyed.
Yes.
Because somebody else's family has this spot all the time.
Got you.
I mean, give somebody else a chance just one time.
But you, right?
You have it back next year.
But you being so brilliant, the reality was that as a result, you got invited to all these spots, so you was good.
No,
yes, you got invited. You might have met, but you got invited.
I got invited to somebody's spot.
So
Not because of that, dude. Not because of that.
So anyway, let's take this last call. It's in the phone is ringing there. We'll go from there. Good evening, caller. You are the last call for tonight. What's your question or comment?
My question is just a comment. I think you two do a very good job of speaking together on the general public issues, and I think Mr. Richardson and Mr. Richardson should come together a little bit more often.
That's go come back from earlier. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done. No problem. All right, Bermuda. Let's call that a night. Definitely a very, very good conversation, and I trust that people will now be more in tune to what's going on, and recognizing that it's going to impact all of us. At the end of the day, yes, it's internal. The campaigns are public, and it's been interesting to see the reactions and the responses. Almost not quite a tit for tat, but it's almost like if one campaign does X, the other person's going to do it. And we're getting much more, there are many more opportunities for the public to participate. Because these guys, both leaders now, both contenders rather, are having all these public discussions that you can go to. And it's not as if all of us cannot go. You can go whenever you want. Then multiple ones for everybody. And so I would suggest that you participate, but do know that there's going to be a new leader come October because the Premier has said it's going to step down. And yes, he's made these most recent changes. Let's be mindful of what the impact is going to be, but by the same token, don't be distracted because there's a bigger agenda. You know what I mean? So right now we're talking, the Minister of Education resigned, whatever, but guess what? As you said earlier, education still has to perform. And right now it's not performing, whether it be actual or, the perception.
The truth of the matter is that with such a transformative stage, education's in. Even people saying, why are they bringing Dido back? Well, who else were you going to bring back right now to keep the ship sailing smooth, other than somebody who knows all the nooks and crannies? Yes, a new broom sweeps clean, but the little one knows all the corners. As they say, you feel me?
Yeah, gotcha.
So at this stage, he may be an interim transition as well, but I didn't think that David had another better choice. If it's a helm holder right now, he's the best, rudder man you got for the moment.
Sure, gotcha. So, I do take all the boating analogies, by the way.
Yeah,
you're floating on the water, that kind of stuff.
He's the best man you got for the job right now. Somebody else takes it, sure, but right now, what we have, yes, let him hold the rudder for now.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, again, Bermuda, thank you. Please, if you're out early or late, wear a high visibility vest, a light or something, because I still get amazed, right? I sometimes go work early or late, and people are dressed all in black. Nighttime.
Nighttime walk.
And you can't, right, you can't see them. They pop out, and now with the hedges being a little bit overgrown, you got to swing out, and so you cause accidents. And the driver can be either going too fast, sleepy, on the phone, whatever. And we want to avoid collisions. So I'm trying to tell people to please wear high visibility vests. And for those that operate vehicles, slow down. I mean, I don't know how you drive or ride. How do you travel? Drive or car?
I ride most of the time.
You ride?
Most of the time.
It's scary because people overtake you. I hope you don't ride too fast. People overtake you, they cut in. It's just crazy. It's scary. When you these
I
days.
used to ride like that once upon a
But
time.
me too. I used to think I was invincible, but,
The bangs take too long
Yeah.
to stop hurting.
Again, so thanks again.
No problem.
And again, I will probably call you, probably tell me no again for a while, but anyway.
No, after,
let's hope you come back. So,
after we have the new leader installed and we see what the new cabinets look like, I'll be glad to come back and discuss it with you again.
Okay. All right. Again, Bermuda, thank you. Until next week. I'm not even sure what I'm going to have next week. But anyway, no, what I might do is actually continue this type of discussion with different people, because I think it's important to have that open dialogue and really to provide as best we can information around this side.
Sure.
And certainly, though, I'll make sure I clarify the fact that tonight was not a question of supporting Jason or Curtis or either one. It was not that at all. Not at all, trust me. But no, instead to make some statements and make some opinions. So go from there. All right, Bermuda, thank you. Be safe. It is now, almost 10:30.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.